Jurassic Park.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Let's Talk Movies podcast with John and David. I am John. That is David, a.k.a. Shamrock Balls. And the two of us here on the channel today are going to be talking about one of our favorite films, Jurassic Park. And David, I just want to welcome you to Jurassic Park.
Thank you, John. First of all, I just want to ask, are you looking forward to this one?
I'm very much looking forward to this one.
Yeah, well, hold on to your butt.
I was wondering where you were going to go with this one.
Yeah, and I just also want to mention as well that this is our Easter edition for Jurassic or for the Let's Talk Movies podcast. So I kind of thought, well, what can we do for Easter? And then I was like, well, what about Jurassic Park? Because dinosaur eggs, Easter eggs. So you make that connection.
It makes sense when you think about it. Jurassic Park is also a very colorful movie. Those dinosaurs are very colorful. The cars they're driving in, you can get it.
Yeah. Life finds a way and spring.
Exactly.
The beginning of life for the year. So that's another reason why we thought we'd like to do Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and really just an excuse for us to talk some more Spielberg here on the channel. And Jurassic Park is an important film to both of us, so we thought it'd be a real fun one to tackle.
Yeah, definitely. And look, since we've been starting to do kind of the new format, no doubt we'll have to go back and do some of those older Spielberg movies. But we kind of done Jaws in this format last summer, only a wee bit extended, a wee bit more in detail because it was his 50th anniversary. So I'm looking forward to going through this in our relatively new format, John, that we're doing.
Yeah, so am I. Really just to break it down scene to scene, go into every little detail, every little nick and cranny of this movie, because David's favorite film is Jaws, and this movie kind of can feel like a little bit of a spiritual successor to Jaws, especially with Steven Spielberg at the helm, and arguably one of the greatest years for any director ever to have this and a Best Picture winner in the same year. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is. And as you say, I remember Spielberg saying that Jaws was like a spiritual sequel to Duel. And then when he was doing Jurassic Park, he had said it's kind of like Jaws on land. So they're kind of like the trilogy of those kind of movies, maybe creature features, even though one's about a truck, but something that's unstoppable. And it's man versus nature and something that can't be explained. So I remember that I was visiting Universal Studios in 1993, and I was walking through that particular theme park, and my dad saying, turn around and saying to me, "Oh, look, it's an advertisement for Spielberg's new movie." And I knew who Spielberg was. I knew he'd made Jaws and E.T. and movies like that and Indiana Jones. And I remember turning around and saying to him, "Is it about sharks?" And he went, "No, it's about dinosaurs." And I went, "Ugh. Dinosaurs?" I wasn't interested. I was thinking like something like some kind of prehistoric type of movie set back in the prehistoric times. And I always remember they had a monitor sitting and they were showing like a preview, not of the movie, but like a trailer type thing of the movie. And it was that scene of the Gallimimuses running past Grant and the kids. And that's all I can remember. So that summer, that was May of 93. So that summer, when the buzz was about Jurassic Park coming out, this was the next big thing. This was the next big blockbuster coming from Spielberg, and everybody was talking about it. And just like we had touched on Batman, John, the Jurassic Park logo was everywhere. The ads were on the television, and a new cinema had just opened in Belfast, brand new cinema, and my older brother had said that he would bring me and my younger brother to watch Jurassic Park. It had this brand new sound system and everything. And I know that Spielberg said that this was the first movie to have DTS sound.
Oh, that's pretty cool, especially since, I talk physical media all the time, and DTS is still one of the cornerstones of audio. So that must actually be pretty damn cool, because this is a movie that really gives your sound system a workout, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I was watching the special features last night, and Spielberg said that he wanted to make sure that every cinema that was showing Jurassic Park had to have the DTS sound installed before he would allow them to show it. And I always remember just the thud, the impact, the sound. You walked into the cinema and there was a showing already on. You could hear it coming from coming out from the actual theater into the lobby. It was amazing. And I then later went on to watch it again that summer. I had to watch it again. We went then to our local cinema. I remember going with my cousins because they hadn't seen it yet. And yeah, it was just one of those summers, Sean, that you just remember being a film fan. Just remember Jurassic Park was like Batman '89. It was everywhere, and everybody was talking about it, and it was the movie you had to see. And I even had like the junior novelization as well, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, my experience a little bit different because in 1993 I was a year old, so there was no chance I was seeing this in the cinema. But as I got older, we got the VHS for it, and of course, I immediately fell in love with this movie. You know, the same guy who made E.T., which at the time, yeah, from a very young age, was always my favorite. So I always kind of like that. But then you watch this movie, and it's just like it captivates you. And just like
Mhm.
yourself, not a dinosaur guy. So I wasn't one of those people who were like obsessed with like dinosaurs, which like a lot of young kids are. Never really cared for them. And then I remember, especially around The Lost World coming out, the hype for that, and just being excited just because of my love for Jurassic Park. I had a Jurassic Park comforter,
Mhm.
I just wore the hell out of that VHS. And I knew many people whose favorite film in elementary school, their favorite film was Jurassic Park, which is ironic because, like, what the book is based on and actually what the movie is about,
Yes,
it's something that it can appeal to very young kids while also appealing to adults.
I describe this as my generation's Jaws because even though like Jaws was my favorite movie of all time, even at that stage, and I'd seen Jaws, I was obsessed with Jaws. I I wasn't around for the release of Jaws. It came out, that was 6 years before I was born, so I don't know of that phenomenon. I don't remember that phenomenon. All I know is kind of like the kind of the buzz around the movie being on the television in the 80s and how everybody loved that movie when we were kids. The thing that I actually loved about it as well, John, when I went to watch it, was that it was dinosaurs coming into our time. And that's what was fascinated me. And that's, I think, what captivated a lot of people when that novel came out. The whole idea that you could extract dinosaur DNA, an animal which has been extinct for millions of years or whatever, um, could come back to modern day. And it was one of those situations where it was science and art coming together, blurring the lines, and that's what kind of fed the imagination. Especially as a child, I remember thinking, "Oh, they could do this. They could build a park like this. We could actually go and see dinosaurs." So it wasn't like a movie where somebody got on a time machine and went back in time, or like just a movie set in prehistoric times, maybe with cavemen, which wasn't really didn't fascinate me. The idea that you could actually resurrect these animals from the past and bring them into today, and bringing these, and in the movie bringing these animals to interact with modern day, I thought was very fascinating. And I actually did then. I later on I did actually buy the book, the novel, and I read that novel. It was one of the first novels I ever read, and I absolutely love it. I love that novel even to this day.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
The book is fascinating, especially since it was like a bidding war for the book before it even was released, which is pretty crazy. So people were just fascinated because it's Michael Crichton. He did Westworld, and I guess when you think about it, the guy just has a little bit of an obsession with amusement parks, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, I just feel as if this is Westworld with dinosaurs.
It kind of is. It's got the same concept and about, how human beings kind of, and it's even funnier that the company that put this out is Universal. Like you said, you saw
Mhm.
the preview at Universal Studios, and it's like, isn't that weird that this is a company already kind of marketing itself to people through their amusement parks as it is?
Well, one of the great things about the movie, and I have it in my notes, and we'll get to that scene, is that they literally advertise the merchandise within this movie.
Hmm.
And that's genius.
I mean, the logo is iconic. I'm wearing the logo. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite logos in not just film history. I just absolutely love the logo. And I know
Yeah.
we talked about it, and you guys can see the other logo, the yellow logo right there. So they had two logos.
Mhm. That's right. And I remember like sitting down. I had the children's novelization, which I had, or the junior novelization of the movie, which they brought, or which they brought it to tie in with the movie, which is smart because I already had a novel, an adult novel, as you say, and then they brought out a junior version, which was based on the movie, and it had the background you've got right now. That was kind of like the cover, and I remember sitting down and kind of like just drawing it over and over and over again.
That's amazing. I always forget you're such a good artist. Like, yeah, drawing the Jurassic Park because it's just the imagery before even you get into the movie that draws you in, and it's something we don't have anymore. I can't think of another movie logo in like the last like 20 years that was like that's I have to see that.
Yeah, that iconic. It is iconic. I mean, you have the Batman logo, you have the Ghostbusters logo, and you have the
Mhm.
Jurassic Park logo. In my opinion, they're the three.
They are, and it's just, they're so intertwined into the actual film, which makes it even better.
Oh, and don't forget the Superman logo as well.
But
He's
yeah,
another one too.
Superman's
Yeah.
iconic too, and that logo still to this very day does captivate people. Which we just had a
Yeah.
new Superman film last year. We also had a new Jurassic Park film last year as well.
Yeah, we did too. But I mean, that's kind of like, I've loved this movie, John, ever since. Big fan of this one, big fan of the sequel. After that, not a fan of any of the other ones. So this movie's been with me since I was 11 years of age. And you said there about, the VHS and stuff like that. I remember literally going out and buying the VHS when it was released, and I still have it. I talk about my VHS collection, and it's in a box in the attic. But it's like I think it must be like the first release because it came with a booklet now. You know, yeah, it has the classic poster in the front, and you open it up, and there's a wee booklet on the inside. And I remember when I opened it up, the booklet actually says something like it says the box office gross, and it says the highest grossing movie in motion picture history.
Yeah, that's another thing about Steven Spielberg in this year is the fact that he had the highest grossing film in history and Schindler's List just in the same year. Like, how many people can say that?
Yeah, phenomenal. And he talks about that. He talks about that in the making of how he says that he almost became bipolar by doing both at the same time, and he shouldn't have done it. He should have concentrated more on the post production of Jurassic Park first. But he done it. That's the genius. That Spielberg. Although he did say he
Did
felt
it?
like his brain was going to explode.
Yeah, well, the things we do for your art. Like, I mean, I think he did. Yeah, he talked about the fact that, like, imagine, you're over there making Schindler's List while at the end of the day going in and looking at the post production for Jurassic Park, which is such a different movie.
Yeah, well, that's what he said. I remember seeing like when he talked about Schindler's List about how of a taxing project that was on him to do because of the subject matter and the fact of his Jewish heritage, and how hard it was for him, and how depressed it was for him, and how hard he found it to actually make that movie, and his wife helped him through that. He also kind of, I think he said he thought he found it hard to kind of go back to Jurassic Park then when he was doing this, but it was kind of a good distraction for him. So I know when I was watching the making of, he says he would fly to Paris, and he would meet with I think it was the sound designer or the editor or something like that, and they were able to look at over the footage, and then he would make suggestions for adjustments. But not only that, he says Jurassic Park was the only movie that he wasn't there for the scoring session with John Williams, which he kind of regrets. But John Williams was saying, he says he heard the Jurassic Park theme and the Raptor theme on the piano before he left for Poland to make Schindler's List. And he says John Williams would send him cassette tapes of the scoring sessions, and he would listen to that in the car on the way to and from location when he was making Schindler's List.
Yeah, and that's absolutely insane. And like he literally would have to mail them. It's not like now where he could just email them. You have it right on your phone. Like it's a lot simpler now of a process to do. Like this is 1993 that he's doing
Yeah,
it, so that's crazy.
cassette tapes, like,
Yeah,
and
FedEx cassette tapes in another country till you get them, and it's probably like a week after he's recorded them.
yeah, and then he would say like when he was doing the editing process and stuff like that, he says he could see on the screen what it was, but he could only like talk to the people verbally. You couldn't see them. They were both seeing the same image, and he was explaining what he wanted. But I mean, I don't know if you've got anything else to say about that, John. We can move into the production.
Yeah, I think we should start the pre-production because there's a lot there.
Yeah, since we've already started kind of touching on it. So the production budget was $56 to $63 million.
Which really isn't a lot for this movie. This would be easily a $250 million budget in 2026. I don't know what Rebirth's budget was, but like if I had to guess, it's something around that.
Well, I remember at the time, John, that this was a significant budget for the time. I know that T2 went to over 100 million the year before, but one of the things that I remember from that time, and because I just come back from Universal Studios or Florida, and I'd done like Disney and I'd done Universal Studios, and my mind, as I told you before, was starting to go towards filmmaking. Thinking about how they made movies. I was starting to become fascinated with that when I came back from that holiday, and I remember at the time hearing that it cost 60 million just to market this movie.
Well,
And
that makes sense.
well, see, now that's commonplace where people
Yeah.
would
So you
say,
double the
oh,
budget.
double the budget. But back then it was like, whoa, it cost as much just to market this movie as it did to make it, and that absolutely blew my mind as well.
Yeah, and I just looked it up. Jurassic World Rebirth's budget was 180 to 225 million dollars, and it
Yeah,
only made, well, just not only, but 869 million dollars at the box office. So if you
yeah.
double that, it's like it did make money. It was financially successful, but nothing compared to like what the financial success that Jurassic Park had, which did 10 times its production budget.
Yeah, and that's that including merchandise what they sold.
Oh my God, still selling merchandise.
Yeah. I briefly looked it up today, like, and we always tell the gross at the end of the show, but I looked it up today just because for my for wrapping up the show, and it basically said for inflation, Jurassic Park would have grossed over 2 billion.
Yeah, it's a
And
shame
and
it's
that's
not in that
sorry,
club.
that's the first run because it's been released since.
Oh yeah, they always do a re-release for this because it's always fun to revisit in the theaters. I actually saw this in a 3D re-release.
Mm.
I don't want I want to say 15 years ago. It was probably actually no, it's probably 2013, so about 13 years ago.
Yeah, I remember the release. I didn't go and see it, but it's definitely one of those ones that, see if they re-release this in the cinema, I would definitely go back and watch it again.
Yep, like we were
Yeah.
talking about, like there's just certain movies that just they feel right on the big screen, and Jurassic Park is absolutely one of those films.
Yeah, 100%. And the last time I seen it was '93. I haven't been to any. I didn't go to the 3D one or anything like that.
Well, 3D one's the only time I've actually gone to see this in theaters. I would go see it though on a re-release. I don't remember. I think that might have been the last re-release. I'm sure. I mean, I don't know. Maybe 2028 they'll have another one
Maybe, yeah, maybe they will. What
for
are we 2 years away? You never know.
its 35th. I
Uh
could
huh.
see it. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. But as I say, back then, mate, I remember, and at 60, what is this saying? Is it 63 million years in the making? Is that
Yeah.
a is that a reference to the budget?
I just thought
Or
it's
is it
because, well, they mentioned in the movie, like, they kept, I guess they rounded up to 65 million years ago is when dinosaurs
65?
existed, which is also insane when you really think about it, that our planet, like, we know we're counting years, we're in 2026, and it's like it's been 65 billion years since dinosaurs walked this planet.
I know, I know. Well, this here, just getting in the production, based on the novel Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, Steven Spielberg heard about the book while he and Crichton were working on a screenplay together.
Isn't that fascinating?
He apparently said to him, "Well, what are you working on?" And he says, just something about dinosaurs. And Spielberg says, what's it about?" And he told him the story. And Spielberg then decided he wanted to make it. But I do believe that you said there about a bidding war. I know at one stage James Cameron wanted to make it.
Yep, and James Cameron initially said, I think he said it was like a few hours after Steven Spielberg had won the rights to it. He actually was going to put a bid in for, so he just missed it. But he did say that when he saw Jurassic Park, that he wasn't the right director for the film.
Yeah, it's pretty hard now, John, looking back, watching Jurassic Park and thinking of anybody else making this film.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been slick. It definitely would have looked good, just because this is 2 years after Terminator 2, and you can just imagine the kind of James Cameron force. The thing is, it'd be a lot more cynical and a lot more depressing.
Well, I think it would be a lot more like the novel in a sense that it would be a lot more gory. It
Yeah,
would be a lot more horror. Like,
it'd probably be an R-rated film because that's what he was doing at the time.
yeah, you'd have them out with M16s shooting the dinosaurs down.
100%. You might even see like Robert Patrick in the movie
So,
walking around looking at the cameras, the T-1000, being like, I could take that on. Just jumping with a
yeah,
knife in the neck.
yeah. It'd probably cost Arnold Schwarzenegger as Dr. Alan Grant. You
Oh
know,
my God. You know
oh,
what?
you want to have one of those? The kids are smelly.
Trust me, I was a kindergarten teacher.
Trust me, get away from me, you raptor.
He'd
Yeah.
flip the Explorer over by himself. He'd just push it over. It's like, dinosaur can do it, so can I.
I say be fighting the T-Rex with his fists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get to the chopper. Do it now.
Yeah. Be a totally different movie.
Could you imagine that? Linda Hamilton playing Ellie Sattler.
Oh my God. I cannot.
Coming or Sigourney Weaver, saying, "Get away from her, you bitch."
It worked. Brad would work in here with the dinosaurs, with the raptors and stuff.
Yeah, that would be good. But King Kong was an inspiration for Spielberg to make Jurassic Park. However, he did not want to make it a monster movie. He storyboarded the novel before he had a screenplay, which would eventually be co-written by David Koepp. How do you say his name? David
I would
Kopp?
I think it's like I think you're supposed to pronounce it David Kopp, or it's like, David Kiop, I would say, or something like that.
Kiop, yeah. So he's wrote a lot of movies with
Co-op.
Spielberg. Co-op, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So he didn't want to make it a monster movie, which I always kind of feel as if that was a reaction to Jaws.
Yeah, I think so. It always kinds of the way it feels. It doesn't feel like that kind of. It's also just the social commentary in here, which is Jaws does have that too. So it does kind of feel like in a way, but different social commentary, obviously.
Yeah, but a reaction as in like whereas up to this point in '92 or whatever, sharks were demonized and seen as
Mm,
monsters, and I think that when he was going to any other movies that portrayed dinosaurs before that portrayed them as monsters, movie
that's true.
monsters. So I think maybe that's a reaction from Spielberg to say, no, 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 I want to portray these as animals.
Yeah, with their instincts. I mean, in a way, when you look at it, like you could argue that the T Rex gets a redemption arc, but really he's just following his instincts.
Yeah, he's just. I think one of the characters mentions it. Is it Grant says it's just doing what it does.
Yeah, and exactly. And then we're the ones messing around with nature.
Yeah, well, the humans are the monsters in this movie. Um,
Hmm.
uh-huh. So Spielberg originally wanted to make all the dinosaurs full sized, but knew this was wishful thinking on his part. He hired special effects wizard Stan Winston, stop motion animator Phil Tippett, Dennis Muren of Industrial Light and Magic, and Michael Lantieri to design and bring the dinosaurs of Jurassic Park to life using stop motion animation and a few full size models. Lantieri would advise on movement and interaction between the effects dinosaurs and the actors. Then ILM could combine the special effects.
Yeah, that was like their initial plan, right? And then it kind of changed like halfway through.
That was their initial plan. And when I was watching this as well, and I'm sorry, I have to keep bringing it up, John, because I see so many similarities to Jaws. And I think that Spielberg learned an awful lot from Jaws when he was making this. Just the way he assembled that team to turn around and say, well, we need miniatures, we need stop motion, we need full size, we also need ILM to blend them all, and we need this guy to map out how all these technologies are going to interact with the actors. And I feel like he learned that on Jaws when they put their team together to create the mechanical sharks, because they used all different types of special effects guys from different backgrounds to come together to create this. And it feels like that's what Spielberg was doing here when he brought these guys on board. The best of their trade, the best of the best. As you say, it changed. It changed when Dennis Muren suggested replacing the stop motion dinosaurs with CGI, thus transforming the direction of the special effects for the movie to focus on computer generated images and full size animatronics, having no stop motion effects in the movie. Phil Tippett and his team then became animators for the CGI dinosaurs, pushing the boundaries of this technology, which changed the movie industry forever.
100%. This was basically brand new technology at the time. Had been used in some films before. The first one, I believe, is still Tron, but that was, it looks like the time. But then after that, you had The Abyss and Terminator 2, which we've talked about. But like this was really like their full blown characters in the film now that, have to be interacting with the actors.
Well, a few things about CGI. So it was actually Westworld that was first used in.
Really? They use
Yep.
CGI. I think actually you brought that up the last time that I
Yes.
said that.
I think I mentioned that. That's why I was like,
Yeah.
it's Westworld.
Mm.
But what happened was that it was Spielberg used it in an episode of Young Sherlock Holmes,
Huh.
where a stained glass window came to life. They used CGI. Cameron was fascinated by it and used it for The Abyss, right? Then Terminator 2, and then Spielberg used it in Jurassic Park. But the thing about this is that I think we were talking about this, and I'd said about whereas I feel as if Terminator 2 took a step, Jurassic Park took a mile, because what
Mhm.
they were doing here was it wasn't a liquid metal object that they were creating or water. They're creating real life animals, real breathing creatures, with skin and and muscle and bone and whatever else. They're literally moving and interacting with the characters. And they had said themselves that Spielberg had said, "Well, show me a test first before I agree to this." And then eventually, when he'd seen the test, he was like, "That's the way to go." The stop motion he says he'd seen was the best stop motion he had ever seen in his life up to that point. It was almost flawless. He says, but you could. He says he could see kids. He says he brought home and showed his kids, and his kids thought there's a dinosaur. He says, but he could still see the jerkiness in it. But when he seen the actual computer generated images, it was far beyond the stop motion. So we had to go that direction. And every time they were animating a scene, they kept pushing the boundary more and more and more. They realized they could start doing more and more and more with this with these tools that they had with the computers.
Yeah, 100%. And you talk about moments that changed cinema. You got like Jaws with the blockbuster, the way that we kind of went to commercial filmmaking with Star Wars and I building on IP. What CGI did from Jurassic Park is it changed cinema and how studios after this became reliant on it. Whereas this movie's not reliant on it; it's still blending the Stan Winston effects with CGI. But then it became a thing where all of a sudden everything's CGI to the point where we are now. And it's a great thing for this film. But you
Mm.
could look at the overall effect on cinema. I would say it's more of a negative than a positive, honestly.
Yeah. Well, thing about this is too, I agree with you, John. I've always said that CGI should only be used as a story making tool,
Uh-huh.
right? To tell the story. But now it seems as if CGI is just taken over and the story's secondary. And I was interested in watching the special features and Steven Spielberg saying that, this is a great tool. It's gonna help people. It's gonna be help people, filmmakers tell their stories, and it's gonna make them telling their stories easier. And he says in 10 years' time, it's going to be far beyond what even I can imagine now, or any of us can even imagine. And that was 93. So 2003 he's talking about. And it's like, if anything, it's kind of ruined cinema in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
But one thing I did like about when they were showing the CGI in this as well, it wasn't just the dinosaurs they were actually doing. They were creating CGI water. And at one stage, they actually CGI'd one of the Jeeps too when the T-Rex was attacking it. So it would just be seamless. So it wasn't just the dinosaurs that they were actually doing, which some of those elements I don't think had ever been done before.
No, like that's the thing, creating all these like physical objects and the dinosaurs and then having them interact with each other. It like you said, like Terminator 2, like was an inch, this was like a mile. It's
Yeah.
true because it's just really the T1000 and those metal effects in Terminator 2. Whereas this, it's a lot of the film. Given though, like because it's so seamless with the actual practical effects and when they use those.
Well, I agree with you. The thing is that it's so seamless. And Spielberg, that's what I was going to say earlier. That's what Spielberg said. He that's why he put the group originally together. He wanted all these different kind of artists in their different departments. That's why he wanted them working together, so everything was seamless, right? Whereas like sometimes you have one department working here and one department working there, and then like you didn't want the same dinosaur to look different because they're two different departments working on this one animal. And I've seen that happen in movies where it's like it's supposed to be the same thing and it looks different, and it's just because maybe they're using a puppet or they're using stop motion as opposed to the large practical effect. And that's the thing about this movie. They seamlessly blend all that technology together. Um, and that's what's so great about it. That's what movie making is to me, and artistry is to me when you're making a film.
Yep, exactly. It's a team effort. And like, at this point, Steven Spielberg can command like who he wants to work with and, make
Yeah.
them work together instead of saying like, oh, we're on a tight schedule here, we're on a tight budget. You got to go do this, you got to do this, and we got to finish this all up. Which kind of happens a lot today with visual effects, and that's why they come out like shitty if you look at like a lot of these Marvel movies. Whereas back then, it's like we're gonna get it perfect, and it did come out perfect. Like there's very little aging in here. I'll bring it up when we get into the film where I'm starting to notice the age, but
Mm.
for the most part this is still some of the best CGI in film history, and it's all of these years later.
And the funny thing is as well is that I never looked into this, but I bet when you look at the CGI shots in this film, they're minimal compared to anything that came, as Spielberg says, 10 years later. They're probably minimal compared to the amount of shots that they're doing now in movies. And I think in a lot of ways, because they didn't realize where they were going to go with the CGI, and because they were continually pushing it further as the post production continued, I think that they had to kind of like get a lot of those practical elements down first. Whereas like I think if this technology was established before they started making Jurassic Park, that they wouldn't have done as much of the practicality side of things. So it was just one of those situations, John, like Jaws, the movie gods were watching down on them. Everything just came together perfectly.
The stars aligned on this one, that's for sure.
Spielberg didn't want the film to feature, as he put it, movie icon stars. So he cast Laura Dern as Dr. Ali Sattler and Sam Neill as Dr. Alan Grant because he felt they were honest actors. Jeff Goldblum was cast as Dr. Ian Malcolm as he thought he was very naturalistic, and he knew Richard Attenborough, who he liked, and seen him as John Hammond.
Yeah, and I love the Richard Attenborough casting because Richard Attenborough was the guy who beat him for Best Picture in 1982 with Gandhi. So I always think that's a nice little tidbit. Like, yeah, now I'll just cast you in one of my movies.
Yeah. And didn't Attenborough say to him at the Oscars, "Your little alien movie should have won"?
Yeah, he thinks he should have won. I like Gandhi, so I've always been kind of a little bit of a defender. I think I talked to you pretty recently. I thought that in 1981, Chariots of Fire winning over Raiders of the Lost Ark is a little bit more egregious.
Well, no, listen, I watching this again for the podcast. He became my favorite character.
Oh, I love John Hammond. I love him.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely fantastic in this film. I mean, for years it was Jeff Goldblum, and Jeff Goldblum still is. But Richard Attenborough in this film, that character he's playing, he's absolutely fantastic. And just a wee bit of trivia, I'm not sure. He's a brother called David Attenborough. Have you heard of him?
I've heard of David Attenborough. I didn't realize they were brothers.
That's his brother. He's still alive. I think he's like well into his 90s.
It's
And
gotta be.
he worked for the BBC for decades. He's I don't even know the name of it, but he studies nature, and he has nature programs, and he's a nature program on the BBC for decades. And he narrates it. So I find it funny that his brother played a guy who's running a nature park or a dinosaur park, and then his real life brother is actually one of those type of guys in real life.
That's fascinating. I never knew they were brothers. That's interesting.
Yeah. Uh-huh. You hear him he does like a nature show, like Frozen Planet, and he's done dinosaur ones himself, and he narrates it, and he's always like, "Here comes a zebra." I think he done one on sharks as well. So yeah, he's very, very famous over here. He's a ready age now, and I don't even know what you would call those guys. I actually come across as very, very stupid now, but I can't remember what you call them. But yeah, he does all those nature programs.
Yeah, I was never really interested in too much of that. I watched them in school, like that's where it was, and it's like they are very boring, but interesting.
Yeah. They always show them like on a Sunday evening, and like I'd be in my mom and dad's, and then my mom would switch it over to it, and it's very interesting. They're very interesting shows, just seeing all the nature throughout the world. Whether it's in the jungle, the Amazon, or under the sea, or in the Antarctic, or whatever. Penguins, stuff like that. It's very good.
Like in this movie, humans are the villain of our planet, as you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course we are. Life would find a way. Would continue, but we just kill each other. So would they?
We kill each other for the land that we already stole from all of these animals. Yeah. But it's okay.
Like animals kill each other too, but they kill.
Oh, they do. They kill each other for food, really. Yeah, it's a circle of life. The Lion King.
Yep. So we're gonna find out in this movie here, killing for food. So they considered filming on location in Costa Rica, but settled on the Hawaiian islands of Kui and Oahu. So, I'm sorry if I butchered that.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, Kui and Oahu. Building sets, turning the island into Jurassic Park. With a planned 3-week location shoot, principal photography began in the summer of 1992. During filming, a real hurricane hit the location for 9 hours, shutting down production.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I believe that some of the actual storm footage you see in the movie is from that storm. They brought their cameras out and they filmed it.
I believe that. I've heard that too, which makes sense. I mean, if you have a hurricane, you're there. If you can get the cameras outside, why not? It's going to look, you need a storm. That's a huge part of the movie.
Mm-hmm. And I had to laugh at Spielberg told a story that Richard Attenborough slept through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he said to him, "Dickie, I can't believe you slept through the whole thing." And he says, "Oh dear boy, I survived the blitz." I thought that was very funny as well, John.
I love that story.
So there was a further 2 days location shooting at Red Rock Canyon State Park in California's Mojave Desert. Is that how it's pronounced?
Mojave
Mojave Desert. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the movie was shot on sound stages at Universal Studios Hollywood, including a full-size recreation of the main road at the Tyrannosaur paddock for a more controlled environment.
Yeah, I love that they do things like that. They just rebuilt the entire thing that they had in Hawaii, just on a set in
Yeah.
Universal.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say that when this movie came on Sky Movies in the and must have been, it was 94, 95. And I remember recording it off Sky Movies at the time. It was premiere. I recorded it off on VHS. And then the making of came on somewhere, and I recorded that. And I mentioned to you, it's on the actual Blu-ray. It was on the DVD, and now it's on the Blu-ray. It's probably on the 4K as well, and the archival features, special features. And it was presented by James Earl Jones.
Yep.
And yeah, and I watched see that document making of. I watched that over and over and over again. But the most fascinating parts for me of that wasn't even so much the CGI part. See, I'm not a computer guy. I'm not really big in the computers. All that digital stuff, that kind of bores me.
You're not a hacker?
I'm just a nerd, a computer nerd that sits in his bedroom. But what fascinated me was the whole kind of dinosaur stuff at the part, to start the prehistoric stuff, come back into the history about dinosaurs, but then the pre-production, right, creating the sets and going on location and creating the dinosaurs. And the most fascinating part was seeing that main road, Tyrannosaur paddock, reconstructed on a sound stage with that like 9,000 pound animatronic Tyrannosaurus Rex, which to me was the most outstanding animatronic that I've ever seen in my life. That thing was unbelievable. It fascinated me.
I 100% agree with you. I just can't believe that they even built that, and there's a story about it, like, getting wet and everything too, which is also just insane, like, but it's still crazy to me.
They had it like fine tuned. As Spielberg said in one of the more modern making of, he says the technology they had in '92 was far more advanced than what they had in '73 for Jaws. I mean, you're 20 years later. That T Rex was fine tuned according to its weight through animatronics and electronics and computers or whatever it was. That any shift in body weight would knock off the whole system. So it could stand there, it could breathe, even when it wasn't acting or they weren't controlling it. It used to like blink and breathe and wag its tail. So they could go to lunch and then leave it on. It was just, it would be sitting like blinking and all this, and as if it was alive. And the thing was, Spielberg had said to Stan Winston, "Oh, that scene on the main road's going to be raining," and he said, "Stephen, I didn't build it to get wet." And he says, "Well, what do you think will happen?" And Stan Winston says, "It's not good." And Spielberg says that, but no, it needs to be raining because just for the atmosphere, the rain beating off the jeeps, the dinosaur outside, it's just going to be a lot more scarier. And then Stan Winston says, "Well, okay, I'm willing to find out what will happen." So what happened was that the skin expanded it soaked in all the water, all the rain, and it knocked the fine tuning of the animatronic off. So then it would just shake. It would just shake its head as if it was cold. It would just start shaking. And they had to go in and then start drying it off with like chamois and towels and just slap it and get all the water off it. So I just found all that really fascinating. Just having that. That's the thing about CGI, John, that I hate. You imagine, like, when I went to Universal in '93, they used to have raids there, like, for example, like you were walking on a movie set, you were walking into a different world. You could imagine what it would be like for those actors to act against, say, you're on a spaceship or you're in ancient times or, things like that. And here they are on a soundstage inside a massive hangar, probably. But you walk in and it's like you're walking into that road that you've seen weeks earlier in Hawaii with the fence. And there's this, 20 foot tall, 40 foot long, almost looks like it's real, living, breathing T Rex standing looking at you, blinking at you. And Spielberg said himself when he seen it, it terrified him. He says when it actually turned and looked at you, he said about it usually when they make animatronics, when they turn the heads, when it stops, it kind of jigs a bit like that. He says, but this was so smooth that when the head moved around, it just stopped dead. and the eyes would focus in on you.
So it's just perfectly well done. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. It's just like you're describing, like what you're seeing. Like it's got to be great for the actors. Now you walk on a set and you just see a big green wall. It's like figure out what to do.
Yeah, you're walking into that world, and I know actors should be able to act no matter what, but
Yeah,
I think all that kind of helps when you're walking into like that set and you're seeing that and you can act across from it. They give a lot of credit to the kids and they're screaming, you know. And yeah, of course they were acting, but I'm sure it's not too hard to act when you've got like that thing's head coming down towards you inside the car.
yeah. I mean, and those are the shots they used in the trailer. I remember for the original trailer.
But I always remember the foot coming down from behind, and that photograph of Alan Grant and Lex, where he's got his hand over her mouth and the head is just kind of in front of them. I always remember that being a promotional picture. And also the one of the head just outside the car, just kind of
Yeah,
looking in the glass. Yeah. So all those kind of promotional pictures as well were used.
yeah. All that stuff is so good. Yeah, it's a lost art. Like now they're all CGI, all the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I mean it's a lost era. You're not going to get that anymore, and that is what is also historical. I mean, as great as it was for its time, yeah, that's what's very historical about this movie. That was the crossroads. That was the move from practical effects to CGI effects. That
Yeah,
this was the crossroads.
100%. This is where it all blended together, and then
Mhm.
eventually, 6 years later, we end up with the Phantom Menace, and it looks like it was made on a PlayStation 2. Yeah.
I know, mate. That's the sad thing about it. I have to just say, like, I'm sure there was other great movies throughout the '90s which blended both technologies, but one for me, which I thought done it great, was Titanic. That's another great one as well, which I thought done it well.
Yeah, Titanic does do a great job on that, which,
Hmm.
we love Titanic here too.
Yes, we do. So distributed by Universal Pictures. Okay, ready to go into the movie?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The release date, it released on June 9th, 1993 in Uptown Theatre. It must be LA, is it?
Yeah, I'm not too sure which one that is, the Uptown Theater.
Uptown Girl.
She's been living in her uptown world.
Long Island guy, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Billy Joel. That's one of our famous ones. All his songs usually are about Long Island too.
Uh-huh. There you go.
Yeah.
And then June 11th, 1983, it was released in the United States. I'm not sure what date it was released over here.
You said you saw it in the summer, so it had to be like July or August, right? Or maybe
I
even
think
June.
it, I think it was June or July. I don't think it was as late as August. It was
Okay.
sometime in June or July, I think. I think.
Yeah. That's something that doesn't happen anymore, folks, in case you're wondering. Like now everything gets released day and dates everywhere around the
Yeah.
world because of spoilers. But it used to be like UK, everywhere else around the world would get a little bit later than the United States. Unless there was like a UK production or Japan production or something like that, then obviously they got it first.
Yeah. Sometimes we had to wait 6 months for a movie.
That's insane.
And if you could get a pirated copy of the movie, it was like, oh, I've got a pirated copy. I remember being in Cyprus on holiday in 1994, August of 94. And we went into this wee shop and they were selling all pirated movies. And what was on the shelf? Jurassic Park. And obviously I didn't have it yet, I hadn't been on Sky Movies yet. So I remember buying it. I think we bought that in the
Well,
Flintstones, I think. I'm not
I like the
sure.
Flintstones, the 94 Flintstones.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Danny bought Jurassic Park, but see, when we went home and we put it in the player, you couldn't see anything. It was just too dark.
Yeah, that's the thing about pirated films. It's like it never really you lose the quality. Mm.
Yeah, especially on VHS, it was like,
Oh, it's a
you were
nightmare.
taking a big risk on that one. So 127 minutes
Yeah, nice,
runtime.
just over 2 hours. Perfect.
So, John, again, I'm gonna have to just touch on some of these like similarities to Jaws and stuff because I do really feel as if there's inspiration there and a kinship there. We have the Universal logo, but we hear the jungle.
Love that, by the way.
Instead of the shrimp. And we'll fade the black, and then you hear that dum. Which to me is always like a da-dum.
You can look at it. They're very similar. It's funny because I just watched Raiders of the Lost Ark right before this. Kind of thought of a Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of opening as well.
With the jungle.
Yeah, with the jungle, obviously it's just the Paramount logo, but there's no music over it, and the Paramount logo turns into the mountain, and then we're just kind of like right into it. But like you got the sound effects of the jungle there too.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true as well. But I know that's not unique to just this movie as well. I know that a lot of movies started doing that when the logos came up. You could hear the sound. It
Yeah.
kind of gives a wee bit of atmosphere about of what you're about to go into.
Yeah, I wonder how that gets approved. I always thought about that. You probably have to ask the studio that's doing it. Again, we've talked about on other films. It's like now you get 46 company logos in front. This is just Universal.
Yeah. I don't think I honestly don't think you would have to ask for approval from the studio because they can own the rights, don't
Oh,
they?
okay. Well, yeah, I guess so. But I don't know if like Universal, because Universal has that iconic opening with the world, and they have the horns starting, and I don't know if they want that whole intro before they go into the film.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah, that one in the 70s and the 80s of the Universal logo just kind of the
It
in
was just a
space.
still image, back in the day. But
Well, it moved, but there was no sound. You're right, but then they started putting sound before, like a tune. I think it was John Williams might have even composed that.
Mida, but yeah, how you have the tune starting, and then Universal comes around the
Yeah,
planet, and then it zooms out. Like,
yeah.
I always wondered if they had to get approval to not have that kind of intro, like if it was going to have the score play over it. Like, I assume because I know that when it came to Star Wars, George Lucas got in a lot of trouble for not having opening credits.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I know what you're saying. Though some of those intros are for home media.
Okay.
The one which you're talking about spinning around with the music, it goes
Mhm. Exactly.
right. I think that's home media, but whereas like if you watch movies like this, it doesn't always do the sound.
Well, the
I'm not
4K starts
sure.
with this Universal logo from the film. It doesn't
Y-
have the music. It has this.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
don't know. I'd have to look at that. I know what you're saying. Would you have to get? But I don't see why you would.
Spielberg
I,
probably doesn't
I,
need approval. He could probably do whatever the hell he wants.
oh, he'd probably just do whatever he wants. You know what I mean? But if it was somebody else, I don't know. I think they could just do it anyway because it would just be, oh, this is part of the movie.
Yeah, like it's
You know,
it's all intertwined. We need it
because
here.
it's a Universal property. It does come up like an Amblin Entertainment production in that kind of Jurassic Park font. And then, oh yes, it was. You're saying about George Lucas, yes, because back in the day when Star Wars came out, it was something to do with unions or whatever. You had to have the title and the cast at the start of the movie, and then
Hmm.
he didn't do that, and I think he did. He got in trouble that, but then it was all changed because if you notice, this movie doesn't have any cast or credits come up either.
No, it doesn't. It became normal. Like, you were able to do this. I guess as long as you have them in the end credits, who cares? Because I mean, if you go back in the day, like I just watched a Hitchcock movie right before, all the credits are up front, and then there's nothing at the end.
There's nothing at the end. Whereas like you had to have credits at the certain credits at the start, and then you had credits at the end. But even back in those days, John, you didn't have to credit everybody.
No,
Now you've got to credit everybody.
it's unions, man.
Yeah, I think maybe you have to pay something to not have them at the start.
Yeah, probably. That's probably exactly. Money cures all.
Yeah, yeah, as we'll find out.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and then we have our third dum, and then Jurassic Park comes up, and I like that wee bit of music that John Williams fires in at the start. I love it's not really on the nose, like whereas Jaws comes on and it's just really, the shark theme tune really kind of like terrifies you. It's very. This is more subtle after the dums out of the way, and then that's what I say. You see the trees rustling, John, and then the men in the Jurassic Park helmets
Yep,
standing.
you see the yellow logo.
Yeah, with the hard hats. And then we see this man standing here. We will come to know was Robert Muldoon, played by Bob Peck. And he's standing there very stern faced with a gun.
Mhm. Because he doesn't trust
It's
these dinosaurs.
like zooming in on him. It's like
I love Robert Muldoon.
anyway, yes, the crate is true. By the way, I love Robert Muldoon as well. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's another character that I love and I've came to appreciate more as the older I've got as well.
Yeah, he's one of the
Um,
ones who's always very skeptical, like, and you can just see it. We'll get into it when he starts talking to Alan Grant. Like, you can clearly tell he wants to talk about what's going on here.
yeah, I've written notes down about that as well, mate. So a crate is drove in on a forklift and is positioned against what looks like a concrete prison.
Hmm.
And we see it comes up at the bottom of the screen here. Isla Nublar, 120 miles west of Costa Rica. Something is inside, watching, and it's screeching. And this is where we hear Muldoon saying, "I want tasers and full charge." And then he says, We're locked. Loading team, step away. Gatekeeper. And he says, Joffrey, raise the gate. Just as he starts raising the gate, the animal inside rushes, hitting the gate, knocking the crate back and Joffrey off. He's dragged into the crate, but by the animal, and we have this tug of war going on, John, between Joffrey and Muldoon
Mm-hmm.
and the raptor inside. So they all start tasering the actual crate. And I love the close up here, John, of Muldoon's eyes and then the raptors.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
great shots.
It's like this is the two enemies facing off against each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
nature.
Yep. And then he's like, "Shooter!"
Shoot! You see his disgusting teeth.
Him in his mouth. Shooter!
Shoot! I love doing that.
Yeah, I want Michael Douglas to turn up. Sure.
Shooter.
Hey, shooter. But Joffrey's arm steps through Muldoon's. So this is a great opening, John. It's suspenseful. You don't really know what's going on yet.
Leaves a mystery. Yep.
It's to me, it's very reminiscent of Jaws as well. And I like how we've got that trademark Spielberg light and shadows going on.
Oh, yeah. I love the way this scene is lit. It's perfect. It's a great opening.
Yeah, it's great. And then we fade into a stream, and a man on a small barge is being pulled towards us. He's in a suit with a briefcase, so he's definitely not out of place, John.
No, it doesn't look weird at all. Our buddy from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
That's right.
I'm gonna have to say goodnight. Casio.
Casio. So it comes up here. Mano de Dios Ambermain, Dominican Republic. So this is Ronald Gennaro, played by Martin Ferrero. What else have I seen him in? He was in Planes, Trains. I seen him in something else.
He pops up. He's got one of those faces, one of those that guy faces.
I have seen. I don't think of something else. But you're right. He's one of those great character actors. And he's brilliant. He's very good in this as well.
Oh, he's great in this. I love him in this movie.
Yeah,
He's got a good, distinct voice too.
yeah. He's slimy, but you know what I mean, because he's how he flip flops here.
Oh yeah, right away he's on John Hammond's throat. Then once he sees the dollar signs, that's it. He changes.
You know, I've got it in my notes here, but I'll mention it now. It's fresh in my mind. Just I love how he turns up to Jurassic Park. He's dressed in a suit and tie, and then he's wearing shorts.
I know the shorts kill me.
At one stage, I was like, see when he was on the helicopter, I was like, is that his hairy leg? And I was like, nah, can't be. And then later on, I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, and they are hairy.
It's hairy as mine. So he's a lawyer, and he explains that the company is facing a $20 million lawsuit from the family of the worker who lost his life at the park. He expected John Hammond to be there, but is told by the man who greeted him he had to leave early to be with his daughter as he's getting a divorce. Think that's true?
No, he went to go see Alan Grant and what's her name?
Gennaro goes on to say that the park investors are very anxious and he has to conduct a thorough on-site inspection. Gennaro says if two experts sign off on the island, the insurance guys will back off. I already have Ian Malcolm, but they think he's too trendy. They want Alan Grant. They think he's too trendy, John.
Yeah, I know. What the hell is that? Is there a trendy sci? Even since this movie, have we gotten a rock star scientist? Because I don't think so.
I just laugh that when you actually see. Imagine if it was Ian Malcolm was the one that had to sign off on this.
Yeah, he would have never convinced them. He was the most skeptical out of all of them right out of the gate.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, when he says there, they think he's too trendy. They want Alan Grant. Who is they? It's not the investors. It must be
the insurance companies, right?
Well, are the insurance companies? It must be Hammond.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, he went and got them. Like he was
because he went and got them
personally. Like he went out of his way. That's what I mean. That's why he can't be there because like Ian Malcolm immediately signed up. They're like, okay, I'll come. But he's like, these people need to be swayed because they get a little bit swayed by the money, but it's only because it's to fund their dig, or else they weren't gonna be swayed.
Yeah, and you see, like Ian Malcolm is friction between him and Hammond. They already know each other. Ian Malcolm kind of knows what they're up to, but doesn't think they've actually done it yet. But he's whether or not it's about dinosaurs or whatever, but he knows they're messing with something, and he's going, you can't do that. So there's always already seems to be friction there. That's what makes me think, just reading that there, when he says we've already got Ian Malcolm, but they want Alan Grant, makes me think it's Hammond.
Yeah,
Not
probably.
so much the insurers. It does sound like it's the insurers he's talking about, or the investors or the insurance company, but I think it's more Hammond.
Okay, that makes sense. I always thought investors and insurance companies too, because like
Yeah,
I think they would have it like assembled, like of the people
yeah.
they want, because they need two out of three, right?
He says two. If there's two saying off on it,
Yeah, so if they can get Ian Malcolm and Alan Grant, then they're good. But then
yeah,
of course Ellie, it's a good follow too, because she's in a different field.
yeah, that's true. So while this conversation is going on, he brings Gennaro down to into a mine, and a lump of amber is produced. And he says, Grant, you'll never get him out of Montana. And he says, why? And he says, because Grant's like me. He's a digger. I watched his mouth. It doesn't move when he says that. He's a digger.
So it's freaking 80 yard.
It's like he's just smiling, yeah. And we zoom in on the amber and see a mosquito in there.
Ooh.
So, so we cut to Badlands near Snakewater, Montana, and we see a group of paleontologists digging up dinosaur bones. So this is where we meet Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Ellie Sattler, and they're being called away to do another test, I think he says, and Grant says, I hate computers. So they're firing a radar into the ground to bounce an image back instead of digging. And Grant says, where's the fun in that? So the computer brings up the image of a velociraptor. This is setting it up for later, John. So Grant suggests dinosaurs have more in common with modern day birds than reptiles. And he even says raptor means bird of prey. Then we hear this obnoxious voice of a kid. That doesn't look very scary.
That kid, the rumor was for a very long time, until you're able to fact check it, that was a young Jake Gyllenhaal, because he kind of does look like Jake Gyllenhaal, but it's not. It's just the face does kind of look like it though. So that was always a rumor I always heard. It's like, oh, it's just a young Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm like, he would be the right age at the time, but like, no, it's not.
No, it's not. He's the kid from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5.
Oh, see, I didn't even realize that. I'm not
There
a
you go.
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 kind of expert though. I hate that movie.
Yeah. Young Jacob, the
Jeez,
eyes.
yeah. I just watched that last year too, and I already tried to erase it from my memory. Other than the dream sequences, which are well done.
The guy with the funny hand. I actually like Part 5, by the way.
I know you do. I know you do. And there's a lot of people who do. I feel guilty knocking that one, but that's a tough one. The dream sequences are very well done though. Like, I do like the production design on them.
I do think it's renowned as being one of the worst of the first 6, right? I think a lot of people put it down to Freddy's Dead. However, I
like Freddy's Dead.
You like Freddy's Dead? So I know people that think it's worse than Freddy's Dead, but I actually like it more than Part 4. So
yeah. I don't really love Part 4 either, other than I like the time loop sequence. But I mean, I'll defend Freddy's Dead. That's why I can't really knock Part 5 too much, because most people consider Freddy's Dead terrible, and I enjoy
it. Yeah, well, I would put 5 above Freddy's Dead, but like sometimes I think Freddy's Dead is better than 4. I don't know. I just detest 4.
Yeah, well, really I get it. I mean, you change so many characters and then kill off the other ones in the opening sequence, which, horror films, that's what they do.
Johnny, even having that brought Freddy back was ridiculous. It's not funny.
Is that the one where he says that you couldn't kill me because I'm not dead? And I'm like, yeah, obviously.
Before that, the dog pisses on him, brings him back.
Oh, yeah, that's what brings him back.
The fire. It's just, that's right. I don't need to start me on it. Let's get back to Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But this kid says more like a 6-foot turkey, and this peeves Grant off, and he proceeds to describe how the raptors hunt, terrifying the kid by pulling out a fossilized raptor claw, 6-inch retractable claw, and scratching at his torso. The point is, you're alive when they eat you, when they start to eat you. So I find this scene very cheesy.
It is very cheesy, but it is foreshadowing for the future of the film with the raptors.
Yeah, this is just setting up a lot of exposition for later on about the raptors
and how they hunt.
How they hunt. The T-Rex, what he says about it's based on vision. His vision is based on movement, and the fact you're alive, that when they eat you, like
Yep.
the Dilophosaurus as well. So yeah, that's what all this is really doing. And one thing about the movie, John, as much as I love it, is that there's an awful lot of exposition like that throughout the movie, explaining stuff.
Yeah, and I think, that's something that hurts it more on rewatches because like I told you, I'm not a real big dinosaur expert. So honestly, I kind of actually liked it originally because now I learned a little bit about the dinosaurs themselves because I don't know anything really about them. And but I know a lot of people really care about dinosaurs and maybe they find that stuff fascinating. But I'm like, at least it helps me for the film.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, that was another thing to do with Jaws as well. Was that Richard Dreyfuss was never happy with his character because if you watch the first hour of Jaws, a lot of it's not so much a lot of it's exposition, but his particular character is explaining a lot about sharks, and it's also to help the audience. But what I like about that is that in Jaws is that you identify with Brody, and as I said, as Brody's learning, we're learning, so you identify with him. Whereas this, there's nobody really you're identifying with. There's people just throwing dialogue at you. And Dreyfus never really liked that about his character because he says, I'm just there just to give exposition. What else do I do? But the good thing about Jaws is when you get to that, when you get into the R point, all that stops. All that stops. Whereas this, through I think it continues throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, they're dropping exposition the entire time
The whole
until
time.
maybe the end of the third act. Then they finally stop.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when they're in the wood, anytime they're out there, that he's talking, Alan Graham's talking about dinosaurs. Which I guess as a movie fan, if we're out there, if that was us, I'd still be talking about movies the whole time.
Yeah, it's a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 6.
Yeah, let's discuss Freddy's dead.
Yeah, Grant says, so try to show a little respect. And the
Mhm.
kid's like, okay. I mean, it wasn't that scary, was it?
Nah, I wouldn't be scared of that. I mean, my
Yeah,
dad's yelled at me way worse than that, and I wasn't scared of him.
yeah, yeah. My dad's done worse than just scratch me with a piece of
I
stone.
know. Just a little bit of an aggressive voice. My dad fucking screamed at me at the top of his lungs.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just say worse has happened to me.
Yeah.
So yeah. So see, soft kids, soft kids. Anyway, I was part of the same age as that kid when this came out. So, but anyway, so cut to Ellie and Grant. She's telling him if he wanted to scare the kid, he could have pulled a gun on him. And Grant says, "You want to have one of those?" And Ellie says, "I don't want that kid, but a breed of child Doctor Grant could be intriguing." She says, "What's so wrong with kids?" And Grant says, "They're noisy, they're messy, they're expensive, they smell." And she says, "They do not smell." And he says, "Some of them smell, babies smell." So this is where we have this subplot, John. It's basically the subtext of the entire movie.
Oh yeah,
It-
this all sets up here that of course pays off at the end.
yeah. Well, the subtext of the whole movie is fatherhood.
Yeah, and being a parent, and she's trying to convince him through the entire movie, and always trying to find ways until, of course, eventually he comes around and becomes the father figure to, the two kids. The one thing
Yeah.
that's distracting a little bit now is the age gap between Laura Dern and Sam Neill.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think anything of it. I know I've seen there was controversy recently about it, but
There's 20 years between them.
is there 20 years between in this movie? Is there?
Yeah, he's
Jesus.
46, she's 26.
Right. Okay. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even know about it. Didn't even think about it until they started talking about
4Ks
it
get
recently.
real close up on Sam Neill's face, and you're like, that's a wrinkly face.
Yeah, I just find his portrayal in this movie very stern.
He is. He's very stern, stubborn, I would say, definitely like set in his ways.
Yeah.
But I can relate to that, to be honest.
Yeah. Humorless. And I don't know whether or not it's like it's well, obviously it is, it's done on purpose because you see him soften when he becomes that father figure to the kids, right? And I think that's the whole point. But I don't see what she sees in him.
No, I don't get what she sees in him either. She seems very like, bubbly, excited,
Yeah.
friendly, and like he's not that.
Yeah. Is it just their work?
That's probably what it is. That's obviously where they have the mutual understanding. And I'd imagine that's how they met each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're working together, and we later see in the sequels, which I don't care much for the third one, that they end up it doesn't work out between them. Whereas like when this movie concludes, you think they're going to go off and get married and have kids,
Yeah,
and live happily ever after.
I was thinking about that the other day. Actually, it was like I was trying to put the whole timeline together because then they both come back in later movies, and I don't think they come back together. And it's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna pretend that they had kids and ignore them.
Well, the third movie, he stars in the third movie, but he visits her, and
Yeah.
she's married to somebody else. They're still friends, and she's kids.
Yep. She got the kids that she wanted and he couldn't do it. Which, a lot of movies, TV shows love to do
Mhm,
that kind of arc. Like, it didn't work out for us, but it's like, yeah,
mhm,
I don't
yeah.
fuck around with the original, please.
Yeah, well, I do tend to agree with you. You know what I mean? I don't like to think about that because that's the whole point at the end of this movie. That's the whole point of his
Yeah.
character, right?
So
Uh,
it's like they left the island and he just forgot about that.
and the whole age gap thing. Now you mention it. Do you know what I mean? The way I look at that is that stranger things have happened. She's still a grown woman, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly. She has a few years. Maybe he's like, I'm gonna be if they're trying to portray him as a 46-year-old, he's gonna be like, well, then I move out. I'm gonna be 66 years old, and you're only gonna be
yeah.
46.
Yeah, but look, but at the end of the day, they're playing characters, and who's to say that the character he's playing is supposed to be 36, and
Yeah, no,
and
you could.
she's supposed to be 28 or 29?
Laura Dern does look older. Like, I think that's always kind of been her thing. It's like she looked a little bit older. And Sam Neill, you can argue like if you're watching him, it's not really noticeable. Like
No,
I said, you just like when the 4K gets really close on Sam Neill's face, you're like,
yeah. See, I don't have the 4K. I'm still watching the old Blu-ray.
Oh, I got the
That's it.
4K and then I got the updated 4K.
That's it. No, I'm watching that VHS, which I got in Cyprus back in 1994.
Yeah, VHS covers all that up fine.
Yeah, but he's weather beaten.
That's
He's
also
out in the
true.
desert. He's out in the desert digging up dinosaur bones.
Yeah, he's got the leathery skin out there, and then of course, then he's in the jungle, so he's getting the shit kicked out of him. They both are.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so a helicopter then flies on site, blowing dust everywhere. Enter John Hammond. The pilot directs Grant to his trailer. And Grant goes in through the front door. He says, "What the hell do you think you're doing in here?"
And then he pops the cork, and he's like, "We were saving that."
Yep. And Hammond says,
For today, I guarantee it.
And that smile.
He's brilliant, dressed in white with that white hat and all. He introduces himself, and Hammond, Hammond has been funding their digs, as you mentioned earlier, John, for 50K a year. So this is basically their boss.
Yeah, their tune changes right away because Ellie comes in like, "Who's the jerk?" And then he has to calm it down like, "This is John Hammond. He's the one." Funny. Then she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, yeah, don't want to let the guy who's paying us
Yeah.
he could do what he wants."
Yeah, she says something like, "Oh, did I say jerk? Oh, I didn't mean
Yeah,
to. Oh,
yeah, it was a
yeah,
mistake. Of course it
yeah."
was. Mhm.
Do you know how I like to read out newspaper headlines and clippings and stuff for movies? Did you notice the newspaper clipping stuck to the fridge door?
I noticed it, but I didn't read that.
It says on it, "Space aliens stole my face."
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a bit weird. So Hamid explains he owns an island off the coast of Costa Rica, leased from the government, and he spent the last 5 years setting up a biological preserve, spared no expense.
Oh, he says it so many times. One of my favorite lines. Spared no expense.
Spared no expense. He says, "Make the one down in Kenya look like a petting zoo." Yeah, he says he's going to open next year. That is if the lawyers don't kill him first. He says, "I don't care for lawyers. Do you?" He's sussing them out. And then he says, "I do, I'm afraid. There's a particular pebble in my shoe who represents my investors. Says they insist on outside opinions." So Hammond invites them both down to the island this weekend to endorse and sign off on the park. And he says he'll fund their digs for a further 3 years. So they agree.
Yeah, I like how they just able to get up and go right there. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Well,
Now,
yeah, that's true.
my
Sorry, go ahead.
one thing I was thinking about that's kind of interesting. You would think that these people who know about dinosaurs, you would think word would have gotten out that they were, making dinosaurs on this island, like something like somebody would have said like some sort of rumor because there are people working there. They had to apply for jobs to get to work there. I don't know if they sign NDAs, but it's like I would have think somebody would have said, there's fucking dinosaurs on this island."
Yeah, well, that was the point that I actually made later on in my notes, John, was like, they're sending the people home off the island for the weekend, right? I don't know whether or not it's because there's a storm coming, or do they normally just send them home for a few days at the weekend? But you have all these people that have been working on this project for, we're getting into a scene here. Dennis Nerdry says 10 years research in 18 minutes. And I started thinking, 10 years? So how are the dinosaurs so big after 10 years? But I'm like, no, it's 10 years research. So the chances are they could have been working on this for 20, 25 years. So as you say, you're telling me that all these people that were working on this project for maybe a generation, not one of them has once came out and said, do you know they're making dinosaurs over there?
Yeah. And it didn't leak out to the people who are, doing digs on dinosaurs who would like you'd think would be in the know on this kind of thing.
I mean, how many people can keep a secret? I mean, you go home to your wife or whatever and you go, how was work this week? And you're like, well,
Can't talk about it. Something crazy going on though.
that's big Velociraptor 8. What do you call him again? What's his name again?
I don't remember what his name was, but
Joffrey.
Joffrey's not going home to his family. Let's just put it that way.
Sake. Never guess what happened last week. Remember Joffrey I was telling you about? Just getting married next month.
Fucking Velociraptor.
Velociraptor ate him. You know what I mean? Who the hell, there's so many people working it. You're going to tell someone.
And he's suing. Don't forget, he's suing. So now it's like those are public documents in the United States. Is whenever someone sues, you don't think somebody's in a court office going, he was eaten by a dinosaur.
Yeah. What remains have we got at Joffrey? Well, we've got his left arm here. What are those markings, sir? It doesn't look like, it's a wild animal. What kind of way? Well, it doesn't look like a lion or a tiger or what are those bite marks? I don't know.
And the investors know because the investors are the ones investing. I don't know.
They know as well. I know exactly what it was the first time ever when I was watching this movie and I was taking notes and I was going,
yeah, that's the problem. That's what this show does.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of people on this island, and not one of them has come out and even sold their story to a newspaper.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not, now somebody would be there with their smartphone, like, get a picture. I'm going to go sell that, and I'm rich.
Yeah. So, listen, you have to suspend your disbelief, don't you, to buy into the whole fantasy of the thing.
Yeah, like you said, I didn't really think about it till now, and it's because it's a movie, and you're not really supposed to think about that. But for this show, it's kind of like we're paying attention to those details, and you just start thinking.
Yeah, it's like I'd mentioned you were talking about this. It becomes movie making becomes like crazy. It just becomes like this is just a crazy story.
Yeah,
it's not plausible. It's just like really,
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, but yeah. So we cut to San Jose, Costa Rica, and a man gets out of a car with a case and makes his way to an overweight man with a Hawaiian shirt on at a table eating. Now I want to make a point here about Dennis Nedry's dress code. I don't know if you've ever seen this. So the stages of the clothes he wears throughout the movie, there's a reference to each one of the Goonies.
Oh, that's interesting. And I could obviously tell who he's playing here at the beginning.
Well, this is Dennis Nedry, played by Wayne Knight. And the clothes... What?
You ever seen Seinfeld?
No, I didn't watch Seinfeld, though.
Oh, he's probably most famous for that, this guy playing Newman.
Well, I know him from Basic Instinct.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, he's another one of those guys. You kind of always recognized him. He'd pop up.
Yeah, I think he was in that the year before, and he's in like the interrogation room, and he's like,
yeah, well, who wouldn't be?
Sweating and all.
Yeah.
Well, the clothes in this scene are inspired by he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt, so it's kind of the same. Don't know if it's the exact same pattern, but it's the same colors and all, and it's a Hawaiian shirt. Chunk.
Right in the beginning too.
Yeah, right at the beginning, and he's like, "Yo, Dodson," and he makes his way over and says, "You shouldn't use my name." And I love how he goes,
"Dodson, we've got Dodson here."
And he's like, "See, nobody cares."
Yeah, look at the restaurant you're at. It's like you're in the middle. It's like they set up some tables on the freaking beach.
It's the middle of nowhere. And he's like, "Nice hat. What are you trying to be? Look like a secret agent." So Dodson thinks he's in disguise. And he hands him the bag, which has $750K in it. And he says to him, "You're going to get $50K per viable embryos. That's $1.5 million. He gives him a fake shaving foam canister to transport them, and asks him, "How are you planning on beating security?" And he says, "I've got an 18-minute window. 18 minutes and your company catches up in 10 years of research." And just as he says that, the waitress brings down the bill. And he says,
"Don't get cheap on me, Dodson." That was Hammond's mistake.
Yeah, and we can see that little. I love that. I love him also stomp his feet like a little kid when he gets like the when he sees the shaving cream thing.
And he's like, and then
Yeah.
he pours his shaving foam and puts it on one of the cakes.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, the person that gets that.
I know it looks like cream, but it's not, you know. And even when he says that was Hammond's mistake, he takes a big bite out of something and nearly falls and all. And I'm just like, he's a slob.
Oh my god! Later in the movie, when you look around his desk, like I mean, Samuel Jackson comments on it, but even before that, garbage all over the floor around him,
all round the bottom of his bloody desk. Yeah,
throwing the goddamn garbage.
Throwing the bin. I know. I think it's so comical, especially like when there's a scene later on, the camera pans around at him, and it's just like it's a long shot, and it's him sitting at his desk, and it's just covered in papers just around it.
What a slob.
Oh, he really is. Cut to the helicopter flying along the ocean. This cue, John, this scene, right up until they reach the visitor center, is my favorite track on the John Williams soundtrack.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Well, you know, there's a big part in here, like that. You know, obviously they when they get in the jeeps and everything, and then there's my favorite moment in the whole film. We'll get to it, I assume.
Yeah. But this track, if I've got the soundtrack. If you look it up, and I think it's on the original release, and then I've got the expanded release.
The 20th anniversary edition?
I've got the 20th. I've got the 20th. I think I've got the 20th anniversary. I got the either Entrada or La La Land released an expanded version along with The Lost World. And I think that may even be 30th anniversary. Maybe the 30th anniversary. But this track starts here and doesn't end till they get to the visitor center. It's like about 7 or 8 minutes long.
Oh.
So I know what you're going to say, right? But your favorite part of the track, but this whole track, it's just one track that goes for 8 minutes.
It is a beautiful track, and it's the best piece of music. One of the best pieces of music in the whole movie.
Because it's almost got everything in there. Inside, we have Grant, Ellie, Hammond, Gennaro, and Dr. Ian Malcolm in the helicopter. So this is the first time we see Ian Malcolm. Jeff
Goldblum in his iconic black outfit and with the sunglasses.
the suit he's wearing, or the clothes he's wearing is amazing. And he's like, so you two you dig up dinosaurs? Grant replies him, and I love this laugh he does. He does like a it's brilliant. He's great. I love this line from Hammond. He says to him, You'll have to get used to Dr. Malcolm. He suffers from a deplorable excess of personality, especially for a mathematician.
Yeah, it is strange for that.
And he explains he's a chaotician, and they start squabbling with each other, him and Hammond, and he grabs Hammond's knee and squeezes it. I love that. And Hammond says, "You promised you wouldn't do that." And that's when he says, "I bring the scientists. You bring a rock star."
Yeah, the rock star.
Yeah, he is. It is. Even later on, you see him in the Jeep. He's like pretending to play the drums and all.
Yeah.
One thing I remember when I was watching the making of last night. So Jeff Goldblum basically says his character was supposed to be like this real nerd, a real nerdy character, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah. And Sam Neill says, so he's playing this nerdy character, and he says, and the whole crux of it was that he's supposed to be hitting on my girlfriend, and he doesn't know it's my girlfriend, and I'm supposed to be getting annoyed at this, right? But of course, the cast Jeff Goldblum, and then he turns up to start shooting, and he says he's standing there all buff and all, so he is with a leather jacket and the sunglasses, and he says, and I looked at him and thought, you don't look nerdy at all. And then he says later on in the T-Rex attack scene, he says, of course, I was supposed to get out with the flare, save the kids. He says, and Malcolm was supposed to run like the lawyer, screaming and cow and hide while I save the kids. But of course, Jeff Goldblum said to Spielberg, wouldn't it be a great idea, if maybe I get out with the flare and I distracted the dinosaur while he saved the kids? And apparently Sam Neill didn't know this. He says, so when he got out and with a flare, next minute he turned around, he says, and there was Jeff Goldblum standing across with the flare as well. Kind of stealing his thunder. And he says that just changed. Apparently the character which was intended was totally not the character they ended up portraying in the movie.
Which is weird that they wouldn't tell Sam Neill that, like, we cast Jeff Goldblum. Like, obviously, you had to know who Jeff Goldblum was and like how he was going to portray the character before you got on set.
Yeah, like especially if you've seen like The Fly.
Yeah, exactly.
know?
This guy is not a nerdy guy at all, and he's always been like, a heartthrob in a way, a weird
He-
one, but yeah.
He's very strange, but he's very likable. And I don't know, maybe Sam, that's the way Sam Neill explained it. Maybe he just thought that being an actor, he was going to portray it very nerdy or turn up looking like a nerd. You know what I mean? But, and then when he seen him, he went, "You're not nerdy at all."
Turned up to Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. The next thing you hear Hammond saying, "There it is." And I love this music. This music here. I know it's one track, but this is my favorite part of the music, John, when they actually approach the island. And they're landing.
Yeah, you get the little bit with the seatbelt.
Yeah. You see like Hammond's like, "Yahoo!" And as you say about the seatbelts, and did you see the kind of subtext with the seatbelts?
Yeah, because of the dinosaurs, two females can't, make it work, but then life finds a way, so he makes it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's two female ends. He can't
They
plug them
can't.
together.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah. So the land and Hammond gets out. He's home. Two Jeeps reverse back and the doors open with a JP Lego with a Lego logo, Jurassic Park logo. The Lego's up there actually.
Yeah, love the Wranglers. Not as much as I love the Explorers, the Ford Explorers later, but I do love the Wranglers.
Yeah, 100%. No, what I love,
What?
They're pink polos that they're wearing.
Yeah, I know. I wonder if you can buy those. I'm sure you can.
Yeah. I love those pink polos with the wee Jurassic Park logo.
They're an employee of Jurassic Park, like I said, but they don't go talk about it at home.
No, they're all silent and not allowed to talk. Maybe they've had their cuts or their tons. I was going to say their tons cut out. They're genetically modified, so they can't speak.
I don't think the driver does speak. The one driver, I think he looks back a lot.
Yeah, it just keeps looking as if I've seen this before.
Yeah, you're not the first people here. We've had the way they pulled those Jeeps up.
Yeah. So they take off into the park through the gates. Electric, you see that electrified fence, 10,000 volts. And De Niro says the full 50 miles of perimeter fence are in place. And Hammond says, and the concrete moats and the motion sensors tracking systems. He tells him to relax and enjoy himself, but De Niro tells him this is not a weekend excursion, an investigation of the stability of the island. If his investors are not convinced, in 48 hours, he'll shut John down. And Hammond says, in 48 hours, I'll be accepting your apology. I've written down here, in 48 hours, he'll be Dino Poo.
Yeah, that's it. He's dead. I mean, and he'll be apologizing anyway in about 20 minutes.
Oh yeah. So now we go into one of the most iconic scenes in modern movie history: the big reveal.
This is my favorite scene in the whole movie. It's a combination of the score, the moment. This is the first time we see the dinosaurs. It's incredible. I love this moment. I watch this moment just on YouTube randomly, like one of the moments that just like if I'm in a bad mood, I can just put this moment on.
Where he like stands up and takes the glasses off, and Ellie's pulled like one of the leaves away and went, "This shouldn't be here," and then he turns her head around.
Yeah, and then she's shocked too. Like his hands are shaking because it's like he can't believe it. You made a dinosaur.
That's right. And Malcolm says,
"You crazy son of a bitch, you did."
Yeah, De Niro says, "We're gonna make a fortune with this place."
Like I said, I think it's less than 20 minutes.
So here comes the question which we touched on earlier. What did De Niro think the place was?
Yeah, that's what I mean. What was he expecting to see?
Yeah. Did he not even think of asking? The only thing I can think of, John, is that they thought it was maybe animals. But not dinosaurs.
Yeah, I'm not entirely too sure maybe that's exactly what he thought, like some kind of exotic animals, but no one told him that it's dinosaurs. But so what did the investors think? Do they think they're just investing in John Hammond and like what he's done before? Because obviously he has other parks.
Yeah, or either animals that are native, or say maybe he's saying animals that have went extinct, not specifically dinosaurs. Maybe like he mentions the condor or the dodo or something like that, saber-toothed tiger. Is that what they think? Because he literally just questioned them about the full 50 miles of perimeter fence in place, and he says, and the concrete moats and the motion sensor tracking systems. What does he think's in there?
Yeah, I know that you need all of this security for it. Like, what's he expecting?
Yeah. So that's when I was taking notes. I was like, why does he not know what's there? Yet all these other people do. This guy's so important to the construction of Jurassic Park. He doesn't know. The investors don't know, but all these workers know.
Exactly.
People that's driving jeeps, looking at dinosaurs, they know.
Yeah, obviously the driver's pulled up and seen the dinosaurs before. He's not surprised by this.
No, he's looking back as if, I've seen it before.
Yeah, nothing new to me.
Yeah. Is it tea time yet? I want to get back to the boat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and they are in a rush to get back to the boat. That's one thing that's a running thing through the movie. Like, oh, we gotta get out of here.
I want to go to Joffrey's memorial.
Yeah, Joffrey, I gotta go comfort his wife. She's lonely now.
Yeah, poor Joffrey, and maybe get some $20 million compensation. So where am I? So, and of course, Hammond mentions they have a T-Rex, and now he's just showing off.
We have a T-Rex.
We have a T-Rex. Grant near collapses. Then we have the iconic line from Attenborough. He says, "Dr. Grant, my dear Dr. Sattler.
Welcome to Jurassic Park."
Classic.
Yeah. Then we have this cheesy line, in my opinion. They're moving in herds.
I know. He's like,
and he's like, they do move in herds.
Like, like all that information we had, we were right.
We were right. And then he says, "How'd you do this?" And Hammond says, "I'll show you." And then this is where we come to the end of this track with this amazing music as they approach the visitor center.
I like that music too.
Brilliant. It is good. But it's all, as I say, John, listen to it from start to finish. It's just one amazing track and it just sums up the whole soundtrack. So we go inside the visitor center. There's two massive dinosaur skeletons and a banner that reads, "When dinosaurs ruled the earth." John Hammond tells him, this is the most advanced amusement park in the entire world. We've made biological attractions so astounding that they'll capture the imagination of the entire planet. And Ali says to Grant, "So what are you thinking?" And Grant says that we're out of the job. And Malcolm runs up beside him and says, "Don't you mean extinct?" Now, that was an analogy which was used for stop motion animation and the introduction of CGI. When Phil Tippett was showing the CGI dinosaurs, Spielberg had hired him to do it, and he had to break it to him that, well, this is the way we're going to go. So he showed him it and said, "What do you think?" And Phil Tippett says, "I think we're extinct."
He's not wrong. I mean, some people still will use stop motion as a way to like show off a little bit. Like I think that Tim Burton will do it sometimes. It's more of a way like, yeah, let's do it. But it's not cost effective anymore.
No. And I had to love, like, Spielberg openly admitted, I put that line in the movie to rub it into him.
It's a great line. It really is.
It's a very funny line. As then we go into a scene of exposition where it's explained how they were able to clone the dinosaurs. We have like a mini theater. John Hammond is on the projector screen. Then we go into an animation segment with Mr. DNA.
Oh, Mr. DNA.
Yeah, and they have this really bad, cartoon animation explaining, all this and intercut.
And become fossilized, just like a dinosaur bone, preserving the mosquito inside.
It's almost like documentary footage of the engineers, the scientists working with the amber and the mosquitoes and all this business, and they're all fascinated. They, as you say, they haven't heard about this, they haven't read about this in a book or anything. These dinosaur experts.
No, they were able to like dig down and then fill in the holes in the DNA with frog DNA.
That's right. And then they move to view the lab, and Gennaro asks, "Are these characters autoerotica?" And Hammond says, "We have no animatronics here. The scientists are the real miracle workers of Jurassic Park." But Grant, Ali, and Malcolm can't contain their excitement and break out of their seats and make their way into the lab. Gennaro's telling him you can't do that. So, as you say, John, we made a wee note here on the PA system. You can hear a voice. It's Samuel L. Jackson, and he's saying, "A reminder: the boat for the mainland will be leaving at 900 hours. All personnel be at the dock no later than 1845. No exceptions. Or I will strike down upon thee." Great fury.
1 year before that. Furious vengeance.
The furious anger. That's his voice, by the way, on the PA there. We haven't seen him yet.
No, that's Ray.
Ray Arnold. Oh, Mr. Arnold. In the lab, we see a machine turning the dinosaur eggs, and one is just about to hatch. Hammond states he's been there for the birth of every little creature on this island. Well, he couldn't be there for every little creature. Maybe every little dinosaur, but not every little creature.
Yeah, I think he misspoke on there. And I bet he probably missed some dinosaur birds that they didn't tell him about.
Yeah. And especially when he was visiting his daughter who's getting divorced.
Like they weren't going to tell him now, so what makes you think they hadn't told him before?
And when Malcolm questions this, he's informed they cannot breed in the wild because all the animals in Jurassic Park are female. So he's been told this by Henry, one of the engineers. He's the chief head engineer, isn't he? He says, "We've engineered them that way." Doesn't sound right. So Malcolm says, I love this line, John. He says, "How do you know they're all female? Does somebody go out in the park and pull up the dinosaur's skirts?" And Henry explains that the chromosome to turn an embryo male, they simply deny that. So Malcolm says, "John, the kind of control you're attempting here it's not possible. If there's one thing that the history of evolution has taught us, it's that life will be contained. Life breaks free. It expands to new places and crashes through barriers, painfully, perhaps even dangerously. But, well, there it is." And John Hammond says,
"There it is.
There it is." And John Hammond says, "There it is." And Henry Wu, his surname is, he says, "You're implying that a group composed entirely of female animals will breed?"
No, I'm simply saying that life finds a way.
Yeah.
Simply.
Yeah. It's finds a way. I love that scene. I love how they're just all sitting around and he's on the chair just saying this and they're all just kind of looking at him as if he's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, but he's not, and that's the thing.
He's not. And of course, Alan Grant's wonder soon turns to horror when he reveals the new baby dinosaur he's holding is a velociraptor. You breed raptors. Yeah. So what do you think about that whole scene about the special effects there of the baby dinosaur coming through the egg? I think it looks a bit fake.
That does look fake. You know what it reminded me of? The alien, the baby alien from Alien. Coming through the chest burster scene. It kind of looked a little bit like that.
But you can kind of tell, I mean, maybe you can't, but maybe it's just because we know we study film. It's kind of like, yeah, that they've made that, and like there's a hole in the bottom of the egg and they're pushing it through and through the desk, through the table. But I think it's because of the way the egg kind of moves. I don't know. I think it looks kind of fake.
It does. They do, and the eggs look a little, but it's all right. It doesn't hurt it for me.
Yeah. I remember like back in '93, you could buy like eggs like that, and you opened them, and you got like wee dinosaur figurines inside.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like a tie-in. I had a load of them. You end up getting a load of wee tiny velociraptors that literally no detail, but they were like just different colors. Yeah,
that's funny.
Cut to the velociraptor pen, and Grant is eyeing it up, and they are lowering a full live cow into the pen,
which is poor cow.
And I love how Hammond is explaining to Grant what's on the menu for their lunch as this is happening. So they watch as this cow is being ripped to shreds. And we only hear it, we don't see it. And that's when we hear the voice saying, "They should all be destroyed." Enter Robert Muldoon, the de facto Quint of the movie.
Yep.
Isn't he?
Exactly. You're 100% right about that.
Yeah. And I love, as you were saying earlier on, John, I put down here, I love how Hammond plays down his comment. He says, "My game warden from Kenya a bit of an alarmist, but knows more about raptors than anyone.
Yeah, he does. He's an expert, and obviously he's like very against what's going on there, but he's gonna do the job.
Yeah, I suppose it's like one of those situations that they all eventually find themselves in. It's like if this thing's just went too far. It's like they've bred these raptors and they can't even put them on the tour. They have to keep them in this enclosed in this concrete prison. They're just far too dangerous.
They're smart.
Very smart, which makes you wonder why they just don't destroy them. But
I know. Well, they said like the one like got in there and was destroying other ones and everything, and like they don't ever attack the same place twice. Like these are intelligent creatures. They probably didn't think that when they were doing this is like how intelligent they would actually be. They probably thought that animals in a zoo like this will be fine.
yeah, like in a modern world as well.
Exactly. They weren't thinking about like their actual nature. Like these are intelligent creatures, whether you believe it or not.
Well, Grant is enthusiastic to learn about the raptors from Muldoon, and he tells him that they're lethal at 8 months, cheetah speed 50 to 60 miles per hour, astonishing jumpers, and as you say, extremely intelligent. The big one killed 5 of the other 8. So there's only the big one and the other 2 left. And he says, they remember.
They remember.
I love the real Quint Robert Shaw when he turns and he looks and he goes, they remember. So they know the raptors are lethal and they're trying to keep them under wraps, under control. And Hammond is downplaying it. So he is. The shredded harness is pulled up and Hammond says, yes, well, who's hungry? So we cut to the lunch scene, John, where nobody has any appetite after what they've just seen.
Yeah, I don't know if I would either if I watched a cow get obliterated in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think it's like most people. I think, without being a hypocrite, if I seen what went on a slaughterhouse, I don't think I'd be eating too much meat after that. But if I can go into a shop and I can just buy my meat, from butcher, that's okay.
As somebody who is a butcher, I can tell you, like it's definitely a lot easier after they're dead. But when you start to think about it, it's tough. It's tough, that's for sure. I watched the movie Hud a few months ago, and like all the animals are sick and they have to kill them, and they just like lead the entire herd into they dug like basically their grave and they dug them in there and then they just shoot them all to death and then that's it. It's like that's their lives. It's tough when you think about it. It's best not to because we need to eat.
Yeah, it's best not to. The way I look at it is that we're top of the food chain, and that's life.
Yeah, life finds a way.
Finds a way. Just like the dinosaurs here, like we talked about nature earlier on. You have to do it to survive, and that's it. I don't want to be the one doing it, but yeah. John, the whole dialogue in this scene, this has to be one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
Has one of my favorite quotes of all time that I use all the time to describe what we're doing in this planet, especially with AI right now.
Well, I actually just wrote down all the dialogue from the scene because I think this is very interesting. This is the crux of basically what this movie is all about. So we have enthusiasm from Hammond about the park. He thinks they're going to be blown away by it and excited. He's seen how exhilarated they were when they seen the dinosaurs, but now they've just seen the raptor pen and they've starting to see the dark side of it. Okay. But there's Gennaro, the lawyer. He's saying we can charge anything we want, $2,000 a day, $10,000 a day, and people will pay it. And then there's the merchandise, right? But John Hammond makes it clear to him, this park was not built to cater for the super rich. Everyone in the world has the right to enjoy these animals. And Gennaro says, we'll have a coupon day or something.
Yeah. Right away, he immediately now is on board and like sees the money signs and that's all he cares about. He's not wrong. You could charge whatever you want if that existed.
Do you know what was really funny when I was watching the modern making of, and they had Kathleen Kennedy on talking about the making of Jurassic Park and everything was wee. And I thought, no, you didn't do anything. What are you talking about? Sick, stealing Spielberg's thunder. Anyway, so this lane, I love this lane here, John. Malcolm says, gee, the lack of humility before nature that's being displayed here staggers me. And Gennaro says, I think things are a little bit different than both you and I have feared. And Malcolm says, yeah, I know. They're a lot worse.
Yeah, he thinks that Ian and Malcolm's going to be on his side.
Hammond wants to hear everybody's viewpoints. That's why they're there, which is great. He's not trying to shut anybody down. He wants to hear their concerns. And Malcolm says, "Don't you see the danger, John? Inherent to what you're doing here. Genetic power is the most awesome force the planet's ever seen. But you waited like a kid that's found his dad's gun." He goes on to tell him, "I tell you the problem with the scientific power that you're using here. It didn't require any discipline to attain it. You read what others had done and you took the next step. You didn't earn the knowledge for yourselves, so you don't take any responsibility for it. You stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something so fast as you could, and before you even knew what you had, you patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You're going to sell it."
Yep. That's all the stuff I talk about with this planet that we're in now. It's like, that's just what they do. They immediately just like whenever they can make money on it. It doesn't have to be their idea. They don't really care about what they have. They don't ever think. And of course, it's leading up to my favorite line.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm sorry, I don't know what your favorite line is, but I'll just say here. John says here, so don't step on your toes, mate. Hammond says, "I don't think you're giving us enough credit. Our scientists have done things which nobody has ever done before." And Malcolm says,
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
That's the line.
Yeah.
Yep. You spent so much time wondering if you could. You never stopped to think if you should.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is great, because that's always like, that's literally what we're doing right now with artificial intelligence. We just want to know, can we do it? But should we do it is the question. And the answer for me is always no, because it's going to take away from humanity. And it's like with this, what you're doing with dinosaurs is you don't fully understand what they are. And yet you're already thinking about how you could sell it.
So Hammond makes a point that if I was to create a flock of condors in this island, you wouldn't have anything to say. And Ian Malcolm says, "This isn't some species that was obliterated by deforestation or the building of a dam. Dinosaurs had their shot and nature selected them for extinction."
Mm-hmm. And nature selected them for extinction.
Mm-hmm. And Hammond says, "Dr. Grant, if there's one person here who can appreciate what I'm trying to do," and Grant says, "I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but look, dinosaurs and man, two species separated by 65 million years of evolution, have just been suddenly thrown back into the mix together. How can we possibly have the slightest idea what they expect?" And I love this from Hammond. He says, "I don't believe it. I don't believe it. You meant to come down here and defend me against these characters, and the only one I've got on my side is the blood-sucking lawyer."
Yeah. He really didn't expect that, but these are people of intelligence, they can see exactly what you're doing, and they can understand that like this is dangerous without more research. Like at the very least, like Alan Grant said, you're putting us 65 million years apart, and now we're in this together, and you're selling an amusement park out of it.
Yeah, well, Hammond's doing it for entertainment. Gennaro's is on board because of the money involved, which is greed, and it's kind of selfish on both parts in a lot of ways, especially the money side of things. But this is the whole crux of the movie. This is what I find interesting. This is what I think the book really goes into, which is really interesting. It's this whole question of morality about playing God with nature, and it's a cautionary tale or a warning.
Mm-hmm.
About what too much power can do. So that's why I absolutely love this scene. When I was a kid, it bored me a bit. I didn't care much for it. But now, as that I'm older, and I listen to what the arguments, I find it to be one of the most interesting scenes in the film.
Because you're an adult now, and you see that that's literally what's destroying our entire planet, is what they're talking about in this one scene.
Yeah. Listen, even not just AI, even just with genetics,
anything like this, but like playing God when somebody gets too much power,
I mean, I've been hearing for years, when are we going to get to the stage where we can genetically change the sexes of people's babies in the womb, because maybe a mother or a father want a boy or a girl, and it'll knock the whole imbalance off of nature.
Because how many people are going to want boys? And it's like, also, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Gattaca, but they explore just playing around with DNA anyway to make, like, I want my son to do this or my daughter to do this. I want them to be strong. And then the people who aren't having their genetics played around with are weak.
Mm-hmm. Or even ones that say, like, oh, I want my child to have blue eyes, or I want my child to have, black hair or blonde hair, or whatever it is. There's still a lot of talk of those type of things going on,
Yeah, it's scary. It's very scary. And as technology gets better, these are the kinds of the things where like our planet was never designed for this. And we're at a point now where it's like, it becomes too much. And I mean, greed anyway. And it's like, with the lawyer, it's like that's just always been the downfall of any civilization.
Yeah, there'll always be someone in the background looking to make money off it.
Exactly.
Hammond raises and says, "They're here." And we go out to the visitor center. You four are gonna have a spot of company out in the park. Spend a little time with our target audience, Grandpa, and it's his grandchildren, Lex and Tim. These kids really love their grandfather. Bit
They
over the
really
top.
do. They
Yeah.
really do love him.
And they're saying, he's saying, like, "Did you get the presents?" And like, "Yeah, we love the presents."
He's a
They're-
great grandfather, though. He does seem like, he plays it well, too. Like, he seems like a loving grandfather.
Yeah, and another great scene later we'll get to, John. When he talks about doing these things and how it kind of like excited children. And he's just said there, this is the target audience, right? So it's almost like he's doing it for kids, not adults. That's why he's saying it's not about the money. This is for everybody. He wants poor people to enjoy this park as well. I know that John Hammond in the book, it's been a while since I've read the book. I've read it twice, John. I read it when I was a teenager, and I read it, I don't know, about maybe 12 years ago, maybe 13 years ago again. But, he's more of a darker character. He's more like the lawyer, you know what I mean? He's not, the John Hammond in this movie, it's almost like he's doing it naively, kind of just wants to entertain. He means no harm. But then in the novel, it's a wee bit more complex than that. He's more of a darker character, and he's more like a Walt Disney type of character.
Yeah, he means well. He's just like he got ahead of himself, unfortunately. But yeah, I've heard about like in the book, like he's more of he's selfish and like darker, and like his intentions aren't as well. But the way that Richard Attenborough plays, and I imagine how Steven Spielberg directed it, is to be like more of a loving grandfather who maybe just got a little bit in over his head, but was in it for the best of intentions.
Yeah, and I'm near certain he dies in the book. I'm near certain the dinosaurs eat him.
Yeah, well, they had to bring him back for the sequel.
Yeah, but they still brought back Ian Malcolm, and he died in the book.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean in the sequel book as well. But I also think as well, just thinking there about John Hammond we're talking about humans being the villains of the piece. He's almost like your Mer Larry Vaughn, and it kind of reminds me of, like, I've always said it, like Jurassic Park is just Jaws 3D with dinosaurs.
Yeah, no, you can look at that, but I think Mayor Vaughn was actually a little bit more greedy. I think he's a combination of the lawyer and him. At the very end of it, yeah, he doesn't realize that what he did, he messed up, but like he had ample warning. Where I feel like John Hammond like still feels like there's not he's not worrying about all of these human beings right now. He's just worrying about these people, and like he feels like it's safe, like so it shouldn't be a concern. It's like, but once he comes to the conclusion, like once he sees it with his own eyes, he does flip on a dime.
Oh yeah, and he loves the animals too, but he does love the animals.
Yeah, he seems to really actually care about the animals, even like from the time, like he says, like when he was younger, he'd always seemed to like care about animals.
Yeah, that's right. So outside, the Jeeps arrive, the ones you like, John.
The Ford Explorers. I had my first car was a Ford Explorer.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's next generation. I had a 1996 Ford Explorer, but this time the Ford Explorers were really new, and I read that what's it called? Jurassic Steven Spielberg or Universal made a deal with Ford Production Company, Ford Motor Company, to have these in the movie to promote the Ford Explorers, which what? I love it. I know people who had their Ford Explorers painted like these.
Yeah, I've seen that actually online. Yeah, I've seen that. And that's what I love about it. I have up there, I don't know if you can see it, my Lego Jurassic Park. The adult set, it's the T-Rex main road attack. And it's got the two kids, it's got Alan Grant, it's got Hammond or Malcolm, Dr. Ian Malcolm, as you can see, the T-Rex, and it's got the two Ford Explorers. So one's a full one, and the other one is half a one, and it's upside down. Dinosaurs standing on it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I've got Grant standing outside with a flare.
With the flare.
He's standing with a flare.
Yeah, I see it right on top there.
You see it there a bit. It's a class set. I had to have it when I seen it. I was like, I have to have this. It's an adult collector's set, and it's the main road, and it's my favorite. Well, I'll get on to it, but that's my favorite scene in the whole movie. So it's really cool. But it's just with the Ford Explorer as well, sitting there as well. It's an independent like Lego car you can lift off, so it's class. Like,
yeah, it's not attached to the track like this one being run by a nice motor magnetic track.
No. Well, the power's off, so it can't move.
Okay. No, That's what
Somebody,
Dennis Neary fucked us.
yeah, somebody switched the power off. Why would he switch the other ones off? Anyway, so uh, so this is going to take them, as you say, around the park, and they run on an electric track. And Lex is impressed. Oh no, sorry. Hammond says, totally non-polluting, top of the line, spared no expense.
Spare no expense.
Yeah. And Lex is impressed by the interactive CD-ROM. You touch the right part of the screen, and it talks about whatever you want.
Mhm.
Oh my god!
She must be blown away with technology today.
Oh, it's amazing. When I was watching that the other night, I was like, "How dated that?"
That's the stuff that dates this movie. Is everything with her and computers, like with like she wants to be called a hacker. I'm like, that's just all early '90s stuff because like we're in the beginning of the internet here too, and
Yeah,
home computers. Like yeah, we've had home computers, but now they're starting to like really get into the home around like just after this movie. Like they're just a little bit ahead of that.
yeah, that's right. That's right. And Malcolm wants to raid with Dr. Sattler. He's like, I'll raid with Dr. Sattler. And you see Grant kind of looking as if, what? Um, then we have this whole charade with Tim following Grant. Then Lex, and we learn Ali put them update. Lex says, she said, I should raid with you because it would be good for you.
The
Cheesy.
kids are sweet though. Like, and obviously Tim's a big fan of his, so like it's nice.
Yeah, listen, the kids do a great job in this. There's some cheesy parts and some over the top parts. I think she can, the girl playing Lex, I think she's a bit over the top of the screaming sometimes. But I do like Tim as well. He's like a mini Alan Grant, and
Yeah.
I always feel as if now maybe they've done this because I haven't seen a lot of the later ones that they should have built a movie around him as an adult and as a dinosaur expert.
They never did.
Missed opportunity.
Now they had to keep retreading old ground over and over and over again.
Yeah. So then we go to Muldoon and Hammond in the control room. Muldoon says, National Weather Service is tracking a tropical storm about 75 miles west of us. And Hammond says, why didn't I build in Orlando? So is this a reference to Universal Studios in Florida?
100%.
Which had just opened like a few years earlier.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
And that was the year I visited. So here we see Samuel L. Jackson playing Ray Arnold.
Yep, sucking down a dart.
Yeah, and Hammond, and Hammond tells him to start the tour program. And as you say, smoking away, and he's like,
Hold on to your butts.
Classic line.
you forget he's in this film.
He's, a lot of stuff before 1994 Pulp Fiction. You kind of forget he's in it, but he's in a lot of stuff at this time as well. Like he's in Jungle Fever in 91. He's in Do the Right Thing in 1989. He's in Juice in 92. It's just, you kind of forget that like he was in things, Goodfellas in 1990.
That's right. I forgot about that. And he has
Stacks.
Stacks. That's right. And then he has a cameo in Exorcist 3.
Yes, he does, where they dub his lines, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was around. It's just like, he wasn't Samuel Jackson yet.
Yeah. Imagine him saying, "Oh, I just got a part in this new Spielberg movie. I can't wait. I'm going to be acting with Richard Attenborough."
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Like, you would think, but Quentin Tarantino wrote him the part of a lifetime.
I'm working with Richard Attenborough and Wayne Knight.
Which Wayne Knight is big at this time because of why am I drawing a blank?
Seinfeld?
Because of Seinfeld. Yeah, he's really big.
Seinfeld.
Yeah, he's really big at that time for this. Like that's a huge part. That's probably where most people know Wayne Knight from. So, this is really peak Wayne Knight.
Yeah. Well, listen, I didn't know him from that. I didn't watch Seinfeld, and I first seen him in this, and that's what I knew him from. And eventually, when I watched Basic Instinct, it was more kind of like, oh, look, there's Dennis Nedry.
There's Dennis Nedry. Well, I'll always go Dennis Nedry first for me personally. I just know that a lot of people love Seinfeld. I'm not a huge Seinfeld guy, but I just know people love Seinfeld.
Yeah. I'm aware of it. I just never watched it. I don't know if it was big over here or not, but I am aware of it.
A lot of people put that as like the number one sitcom of all time, especially the 90s. It's like that or Friends over here in America.
Yeah, well, everybody over here loved Friends.
Yeah, everyone loved Friends. I don't think Friends. I used to love Friends, but I think Friends is very dated now.
Yeah. Well, I was never a fan of it, but everybody else I knew was.
Yeah, I mean, it was a phenomenon.
It used to be on Channel 4 here every Friday night.
That's so funny. It was on Channel 4 here, which I mean, isn't the network called Channel 4? But it was NBC.
Oh no, the network's actually called Channel 4.
I always thought that was funny. Like I remember seeing people writing, I'm like, well, that's weird. It's just a like Channel 4's NBC local affiliate of New York.
The car set off, and Malcolm says, "God help us, we're in the hands of engineers." He's so skeptical. And I love that entrance with the huge doors, John, saying "Welcome to Jurassic Park" and the
Oh, it's
music. Then,
iconic. Love that.
yeah, and then Malcolm says, "What have they got in there, King Kong?"
Well, that's what the door looks like if you remember from the island.
Oh yeah, that's right. So it does, yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
I think that's what it's reminiscent of.
Yeah, Spielberg's nod, just that bump, King Kong.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And Hammond tells them the voice you're now hearing is Richard Keeley. We spared no expense.
Apparently, it's Richard Keeley in the book too. So I guess they said that was the name, and they actually got him to do the voice in the movie.
Yeah, I do. I can't even remember.
Yeah, but you know who they were gonna get if they couldn't get Richard Keeley, which is funny because you love that, is James Earl Jones.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, but they wanted Richard Keeley because he's mentioned in the book, and he agreed.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But that he's in the book, and then they were able to get him for the movie in it.
Yeah, like yeah, I mean, I guess it's cool to have a backup plan, but if like, hey, they brought him up in the book, if we can get him, like, why not, right?
Probably tried to get him for the making of, and he turned that down. So they're like, let's just get James Earl Jones in for this one.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, we already got him on retainer. Why not?
Yeah. So their first stop is Dilophosaurus. And you can hear the narrator explain it's poisonous, spitting at and blinding its prey before eating it.
And we know it does that because it does it to Dennis Nedry.
So they're just setting that up. But they can't see anything. And we cut back to the control room, and Ray is telling Hammond, we have all the major problems of a major theme park and a major zoo, and the computers aren't even on their feet yet. And this is where we see Dennis Nedry is in the control room, and Hammond says, Dennis, our lives are in your hands, and you've got butterfingers. And I love how he laughs, and he says, I'm totally unappreciated in my time.
It's great.
Yeah. So Nedry and Hammond going to get back and forth about his finances, and Hammond eventually says, I don't blame people for their mistakes, but I do ask that they pay for them.
Yeah. Which I wonder what he's paying him that he's so upset about it.
I just think he is an excessive spender.
That could be it, because he does say, they are your problems.
I get a feeling maybe he's a gambler or something.
That was my guess too, because like, why is he so desperate for money?
And he's not an alcoholic or a drug addict or anything, you know what I mean? Because he's able to go to work. So I'm just thinking maybe he's a gambler or something like that. Why does he need so much money for?
He's a fat slob too. He's probably eating a lot.
Well, that's what I thought. All that food he's eating too. Nedry says, thanks, Dad. Do you notice that Nedry has Jaws playing on his computer?
I did notice that. You've actually pointed that out, I think, in our Jaws show too, and that's what made me notice this time.
Yeah, that's right. So it's on his monitor. He's watching Jaws.
Yeah, which is nice.
It's again Spielberg's nod to himself there, and the kinship between the movies and all that. Ray asks him about the glitches, and Nedry responds about debugging the tour program. But of course, this is him setting up the systems going off so we can steal the embryos. Then Muldoon says menacingly, "What, all of you?"
He's just so serious in the background.
He's like, yeah. They're approaching the Tyrannosaurus paddock.
He's so worried about the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I just love that zoom in his face, that worried look. You know, he's so melodramatic.
Yeah, he's a very serious man.
Yeah. So the Jeep pulls up on the outside of the Tyrannosaurus paddock, and everyone's looking, but nothing. And Malcolm says, God creates dinosaurs. God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs. And Ellie says, dinosaurs eat man. Woman inherits the earth. Now, let me ask you a question, John. Does she think that dinosaurs don't eat women?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she thinks that it's a female who won't eat a female. Or I don't know if she's just maybe speaking out of term there.
Yeah.
We don't see him eat a woman, though.
That's true. I've just written here, this is woman logic.
Well, that's also true.
Uh-huh. So they try and lure the T-Rex out with a goat.
Yeah, I know. They got the goat there. They bring it up in the cage and everything, and then the kids freak out.
Yeah, Lex is horrified because she's a
Well,
vegetarian.
Lex, yeah.
And Gennaro says, "What's the matter, kid? You never had lamb chops before?"
Yeah, I just want to point out that that's different.
Yeah, this is completely like exactly what we were talking about. And that's what she says, but I happen to be a vegetarian.
She's a
And
pretentious little kid, ain't she?
yeah. And Grant says T-Rex doesn't want fed, he wants to hunt.
Which we see.
I love this next scene. Hammond's dejected in the control room, looking at them in the monitor, and Malcolm comes up to the camera and he's like, "Now, Eventually, you do plan to have dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour, right? Hello, hello, yes."
Hammond's response is great.
I love he's sitting there and he's like, "I really hate that man."
It's with kind of with a smile. I really hate that man.
He's sitting like that. He's like, "I really hate that man." I love that. I always forget about that scene in this movie. When it comes on, I just start laughing. Like,
It's
you know,
so funny.
he comes up to the camera and he's
knocking
going
on
the
it.
camera now. Hello, that's what I'm saying. There's definitely like not animosity. That's too strong. You know, or friction. There's this kind of, you know, sparring that goes on between them two throughout the movie. You know.
Yeah, I love it.
They move on, and Hammond starts to explain. Malcolm starts to explain chaos theory to Ali in a very flirtatious way. When Grant sees a jeep out in the field and he hears a roar, he opens the door and jumps out of the jeep. As Malcolm was discussing unpredictability, he says, "There, look at this. See, I'm right again. Nobody could predict that Dr. Grant would suddenly jump out of a moving vehicle." And then Ali follows and he says, "And there's another example. See, here I am now by myself, talking to myself. That's chaos theory."
That's chaos theory.
I think that's absolutely fantastic.
I love that too because it's a little insane.
Yeah. It's class. But what is he thinking? He just jumped out of this moving vehicle.
Yeah, who could have saw that coming?
He could have saw that coming. Yeah, and then she does it. You know, he would have protected that today. So back in the control room, Hammond tells him to stop the program, and Muldoon says, "I told you how many times we need locking mechanisms on the vehicle doors." Why is the game keeper or whatever telling them the locking mechanisms on the doors? Is it because, as you say, he knows the dangers?
I mean, that does also seem like low-hanging fruit. Like that should have been obvious. Like you shouldn't have no way for the people to be able to get out of the ride while they're on the ride.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. I totally agree. And Nerdry is scoping out the embryo cold storage area on his computer. That's where you see that shot, John, where the camera comes around. You see him sitting there and you see all the rubbish around the bottom of his desk.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah. So Grant, Tim, Lex, Ali, and Gennaro are making their way through the field, and they come across a sick, tranquilized Triceratops and a Jurassic Park worker, Dr. Jerry Harding. So I have to say, I actually love this scene. When I was sorry, John, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's a sweet scene. It actually is, to show the caring of the dinosaur and the guy who was actually taking care of him.
Yeah, when I was a kid, when you're a kid, obviously different perspectives on movies as you get older, right? And this is still a movie that I think adults can thoroughly enjoy. But as a kid, you just want to see the big scary dinosaurs chasing people and eating people, right? That's that's the type of kid I was anyway. Maybe for being a boy, but now that I'm older, I love this scene because this is exactly what Spielberg was talking about when he talked about not showing the dinosaurs as monsters, but showing them as animals. This could easily be a rhino lying here or an elephant, ill, sick, and they're trying to care for it. And I also just love here Grant's childlike wonder, his love for this animal, and the same with Ellie. She's flabbergasted too, and John Williams' amazing music throughout this scene as well.
Oh yeah, perfect through the whole film. But yeah, it does work well with the scene.
It's so good, and Plus, the animatronic is pretty good too.
Yeah, good animatronic. Yeah, very good.
Do you ever see the picture of this that was on the internet?
Yeah, I have seen that picture.
It says like Steven Spielberg killed the Triceratops. That's boycott him or something. And there was actually comments below of people calling out Spielberg, not realizing that it's a Triceratops.
People are stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, so Ellie inspects her tongue as Grant lays on her belly to feel and hear her breathing. Ellie thinks she may have eaten toxic plants and wants to inspect the dinosaur's droppings. Malcolm's now came down. He's behind her, and he's like, "Dino droppings, droppings." Right. So back in the control room, Muldoon's on the phone, and he tells Hammond that storm hasn't dissipated or changed course. We're going to have to cut the tour short, I'm afraid. Sustained winds at 45 knots. Now, I made a note here, John. So Muldoon isn't only a game warden, he's also a weatherman.
Well, they only at this point, who's really working there? Like they're the only three in the control room. So is that like usually like I guess because they're a year out, so they only have Dennis Nedry running the computers. They only have Ray, and then they who I guess can do some computer work because he seems to understand it. And then they got Muldoon, and that's really it.
Well, at this particular scene, you hear Ray in the background informing people on the PA again. Ladies and gentlemen, last shuttle leaving for the dock leaves in 5 minutes. Drop what you're doing and leave now. If you see behind them, there's a load of other computers and people working at the desks, at the tables, right? So I'm kind of surmising that these workers go home at the weekends. Right?
Because you got the drivers as well, and then we know the other doctor is going to leave as well, the one that's working on the...
Yes.
Yeah. So there's people working. It's just like, but like, I think these are like the core, I guess, who stay.
I think it's a skeleton crew because this is a specialized weekend for these guys to inspect the island. So they're just going to stay themselves. You hear Gennaro says, Muldoon says here, we'll pick it up tomorrow. I always kind of felt maybe this was a Saturday. So I'm wondering maybe they go home for the Sunday and come back on the Monday. That's what I'm thinking.
That's so funny you said that. I always thought it was a Friday.
Well, the weekend, it could be a Friday. People consider Friday night the weekend.
Yeah.
Hammond did say come down for the weekend. So this could be the Friday. People are going home on Friday evening and they'll come back on the Monday morning. So this is a skeleton crew. The only thing I would say is that since this inspection was so important, why would you not ask everybody to stay for the weekend? But maybe you can't make people stay. As I say, maybe they only get paid Monday to Friday. That's why they're just keeping this core skeleton crew. Then they keep the main guys, to keep Nedry, they'll keep Arnold. They have Muldoon there. Maybe Muldoon's not there all the time, but they have Muldoon there. You know what I mean?
You would need people there 24/7, I think, at some point. Like even if it's like rotating, because like someone's got to care for the dinosaurs.
You would have certain crew there. Well, Muldoon's there.
So like I think he doesn't even get that opportunity. Like I think if like what you're saying, like some people would like they probably shut down for the weekend, but you would still need people there no matter what on the weekend.
Yeah, maybe there's like shift work.
Yeah, I just feel like they don't have enough people yet because like Dennis Nedry, like Ray says, I need Dennis Nedry to keep us online. So it's like when does he get to go home? Like looks like Ray can fill in for him, but like you said, you got the people behind. But like, can they do what he does?
Well, the reason Ray says I need Dennis Nedry to get Jurassic Park back online is because he's done something to the system and he doesn't know what he's done. He thinks it's to do with debugging the phones and fixing the glitches. He's like, I need him to get it back online. I don't know what he's done.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's not just I don't know what's going on here. I don't know how to work this. It's like he's done something and I don't know what it is. But what he's done is intentional, so nobody can find out.
Yeah,
he put it back online.
He put a bug in there that like he said, he would need 2 million lines of code or whatever to figure it out.
Yeah, but look, I do agree with you to a certain extent. Like, do you know what I mean? But it's just how they're going to tell the story. That's how they're going to get it down to just this core group of people being terrorized by the dinosaurs, rather than the dinosaurs run about and killing like 50 people.
Yeah, exactly. I imagine the people in the lab, like it's got to be like one guy left over there, but we just don't see them.
Maybe we don't.
Yeah, you know, maybe they all go home, like, 'cause maybe they're not expecting, like, but I don't know, they gotta care for those eggs. Maybe the animatronics do it. Who knows?
Yep, maybe the animatronics do that.
Yeah.
So Hammond, in frustration, says, "Damn,
Done!
cut the alley inspecting the dino poo."
Yeah.
That is one big pile of shit.
Yeah, he struts up and says that, takes the glasses and all off.
Yeah.
I love how he just struts up there.
Yeah, because he has to.
It's one big pile of shit. So what's the point of this scene?
Well, it takes out that's the berries and everything like that. So, like,
But
we
who,
know that.
but who cares?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, like, they're trying to figure out, like, what it was. I always thought, was she pregnant, the dinosaur?
I don't know.
Like, they don't tell you, right, directly, but, like, I thought maybe that's because they ruled everything out, like, what could be wrong with her, and that, like, would prove the point of, like, they found a way for her to get pregnant, but they don't say it, so I don't know.
Well, it's the toxic plants.
Well, they said she wasn't eating the plants.
Well, who? Sorry, because I didn't take notes on that scene. Who said she wasn't needed? She.
Ellie, that's she when she expects the shit, she's like, she looked and said there was none of the berries. She wasn't eating the berries.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Because I just didn't find that important. The only reason this scene exists, apart from seeing that Triceratops, right, is to separate Ellie from the main group.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because she's gonna be going back. She's gonna help care for him with the other doctor, and then he's before he goes to the boat, he'll drop her off, and then of course she's by. Then eventually she joins the group of guys working in the room.
Yeah, that's the only reason for it. You know what I mean? And say, I wasn't trying to catch you out. I just kind of go, what was the point of all this checking the poo and the sick triceratops and the poisonous plants and the berries and what was the point of all that? That's what I was just sitting thinking. And basically the only reason for all of that is to separate Ellie from the main group.
Oh yeah, from the film standpoint, exactly. That we need to find out why she's not with the rest of them.
Yeah, and of course he says he's in a gas-fueled jeep, and he's going to stay with him, Harding, and he'll drop her back to the visitor center later when they're finished. And Gennaro is insisting the rest of them go back to the electronic tour jeeps as the storm starts to rage.
Yeah, getting bad.
So meanwhile, Nedry is in consultation via video call with Dodson. He's begging. Well, I assume that's Dodson on the dock.
Looks that way.
Yeah, it has to be him, isn't it? He's begging him to give him 15 minutes to get the embryos and meet him at the dock. Did you notice the video on the monitor that he's watching is obviously a pre-recorded video because you can see the ticker going on at the bottom?
Yeah. Early technology.
I know.
They don't realize.
No, I mustn't have. So here's a question. Is this boat leaving earlier than expected?
It feels that way because he said that he has an 18-minute window. And like now it's like all of a sudden we have to get off this island. But they said the storm was on track. So it's like, were they not expecting it? Or were they hoping that it would like veer away and it's not? And it's like getting bad and we have to go.
Well, when they first mentioned the storm, Muldoon says about it's tracking towards us. And then Hammond says, I didn't write this down, but he says, hopefully it veers past us like the last one. And then as the tour starts, you see they've got a monitor with like the weather on it, and then you hear him on the phone saying, "No, it's coming towards us. We're gonna have to cut the tour short." Excuse me. So I'm thinking that maybe there no way that they originally were supposed to get on the boat for what 6:45. I'm thinking maybe they're now leaving earlier.
Yeah, Ray told them all to drop what they're doing and head for the boats now. So it's like everyone's, and it looks like based on where Dotson is, like it's getting bad over there. So like you better hurry.
Yeah, so that's why it's all of a sudden so rush with Nerdry. He's kind of thinking like the 18-minute window is to knock the systems off, to go and get what he's done and make it to the boat, but the systems come back on. Well, I assume by the time they realize he's gone or the systems come back on again. I don't know, because they can't get them on again. Or maybe he was going to come back.
I assumed he was
in his bag and put it back on again.
I thought he was coming back, like to put it back on. Like, I think he's supposed to just bring that and then get back in there and just to go back to doing his job, right?
Maybe that's what it is. But all of a sudden, it seems like a panic now. It's like, oh, I must get it now. And this brings me to another question. If a storm's coming in, why did he have to do it then that day? Why couldn't he have not said to Dodson, I'll get it for you Monday? It's only a couple of days out.
Yeah, I don't understand why it all had to be then. Like, you've waited 10 years. You can't wait 2 more days. A fucking storm's coming.
Yeah, and the boat will be back on Monday.
I guess everything would run smoother then. So, like, that's where the film kind of stuff is again. Like, it's like it looks cooler for him to be out there in the storm trying to do this, and that's what's causing him to fuck up everything.
Well, yeah, that and the fact of once the fences are down and they start being and the dinosaurs are able to attack the fences, and the storm is destroying some of the infrastructure as well.
Yeah, this really is the downfall of everything is him and his greediness.
Mm-hmm. So across the room sits Hammond, Ray, and Muldoon, and Hammond says, "So much for our first tour, 2 no-shows, and 1 sick triceratops." And Ray says, "It could have been a lot worse, John."
And he said it in like a way like at least no one got hurt.
Yeah, a
So,
lot
like,
worse. And
yeah.
then I go, really? It's like he knows what's coming.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, well, it's about to get a lot worse.
Yeah, yeah. And Nerdry interrupts. Anybody want a soda or something?
I know, all nervous and like, come on, make it more obvious that you're doing something sneaky.
I had some sweets there and I want to go and get something salty.
Yeah.
But you now notice, John, he's wearing his Goonies mouth coat. It's the
Yeah.
coat that mouth wears in the Goonies. That's what he's wearing now.
Mm-hmm.
He says he's finished debugging the phones and the systems will be compiling for 18 to 20 minutes. Minor systems will go on and off for a while, but it's nothing to worry about. So there you go. He said he was going to do that when they come back from the tour. So it must be earlier than expected.
Yeah, he's gonna do all this. Everything's a little bit rushed.
Later on, when they're all back and he's probably sitting by himself, I'll debug these phones. Then he's able to go in and steal everything. And then,
But no one will be paying attention.
So he's stuttering and he's stammering and he's not shifty at all.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So he hits execute and syncs his watch. Love this music, John.
Oh yes, great.
Isn't it? It's amazing. Cut to a brief scene in the tour jeep with Grant and Malcolm moving through the stormy jungle at night. And Grant says, "You got any kids?" And Malcolm's like, "Me? Well, yeah, 3. I love kids." And he takes a swig of his flask, and he's like, anything at all that can and does happen. And he offers Grant a drink. I love how he offers him a drink there. And he seems a bit resentful of his offer. He's like,
"Yeah, come on, I'm professional here."
Yeah. And then he's like, same with wives for that matter. And he's like, "You married?" And he says, "Occasionally. I'm always on the lookout for a future Mrs. Axe Malcolm." And Grant, he laughs, and then Grant just doesn't look amused at all. Like you say, he thinks this guy is an absolute cowboy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, who do you think you are? And he's like a little bit, kind of bitter towards him.
He says he looks at him and laughs, brilliant. And in the meantime, Nerdry breaks into the decontamination airlock as the security systems go down. And we have Ray in the control room saying, "That's up." And then he breaks into the embryo cold storage to steal the embryos. But back in the Jeep, Malcolm asks Grant about Ali's availability.
He's like, "Yeah, the 2 of you are," and he's like, "Gee, I'm sorry."
He's like, "Why?"
Then he puts it together. He's not an idiot. Like, "Oh, yeah, okay."
In the control room, fences are failing all over the park. And Hammond says, "Fight Nerdry. Check the vending machines."
Always start there first.
Always start there, because that's what he said. Is it going to go to the vending machine? But that's what he says. Check the vending machines. How many vending machines do they fucking have?
I know. They got those filled, right? Probably because he's blowing through them and he can make a ton of money on them.
It would have been better if Ray had said, "Vending machines are failing all over the park. Fight Nerdry." So Nerdry pulls up to the Jurassic Park main doors and opens them by hand, driving through the doors. Absolutely amazing shot. And did you notice he's now wearing the yellow raincoat?
The yellow raincoat. I was wondering, are you going to bring that up?
Well, this is Maggie from the Goonies.
Yep.
So that's apparently the 3 Goonies that it's been referencing. So Ray and Hammond go to Nerdry's desk. This is what you were talking about. And Ray says, "Look at this workstation. What a complete slob."
What a complete slob, and throws it all on the floor.
Slob, with still with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
The whole time he's got the cigarette hanging. I love it.
Well, one of the best scenes is coming up with that cigarette. So I love how disgusted he is. And Muldoon asks, "Rat defenses aren't out, are they?"
Yeah, well, he knows those raptors.
Uh-huh. And they're still on, and Hammond asks, why the hell would he turn the others off?
Mm.
And he's making his way, Nurge, he's making his way through the park in the storm and crashes into the east dock, saying,
Yeah, he's like trying to look at it, like which way do I have it? Which way? And then he's like, he just throws it down eventually and gives up.
yeah. And we cut back, and there's a picture of Oppenheimer on the computer.
Interesting, right?
The big boom.
Yep. I mean, especially now looking back on the film Oppenheimer, it's like, yeah, a little more meaning. More people probably recognize that name now.
They probably recognize that now more than before. I knew it was there, like I'd seen it before. But yeah, that's very interesting. And this is the scene with the cigarette, was just a close up of Samuel L. Jackson's mouth, and he's like, excuse me, he's like, access main program, access main security, access main program grid, and it says access denied, and you have that didn't say the magic word. And Ray's like, please, god damn it, I hate this hacker crap.
The hacker shit, man, drives me nuts now. I'm like, it was such a time.
But then Hammond tells Ray to call Nerju's people in Cambridge, but the phones are down too. And Hammond says, where did the vehicle stop?
Oh, here we go.
So we cut to the goat, and they're at the Tyrannosaurus paddock. In my opinion, John, is the best scene in the whole movie.
I understand why.
Yeah, it's so good. Tim has the night vision goggles, and Gennaro says, are they heavy? And Tim says, yeah. And he says, then they're expensive. Put them back.
I think we've all had our dad say something like that before.
That is exactly what it's like. It's like a father talking to his child. You know what I mean? Put them down. They're heavy. You know, they're all acting up. I don't envy him, but be stuck being in there with those two kids. Do you know what I mean?
Now I'm losing my mind. And, this is before cell phones, so they're just bored too.
Yeah, and you're just sitting there. He's just sitting bored, just waiting. And yeah, this is where we hear like the thudding and the ripples in the water and in the mirror. And Gennaro says, maybe it's the power trying to come back on.
Yeah, that's wishful thinking.
Yeah. And then Lex notices the goat's gone.
Where's the goat?
That'd be a little alarming.
And that's where we see the T-Rex head for the first time. That animatronic head, absolutely amazing. It's just swallowing the goat whole. Well, minus a leg.
Yeah, he got the leg off first.
Yeah. Grabbed it by the leg first. So Gennaro craps himself and he runs to the toilets, terrified. And that's where Grant says, where does he think he's going? And Malcolm says, when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Yeah, easy joke to make.
Yeah. You kind of see him running to the back of their Jeep and pointing and turning and running.
Yeah, like letting them, like, you should be aware of what's in here.
They haven't seen it yet. And that's when you see like the fence cables just being pulled away and it breaks. And then the T-Rex makes his entrance, stepping out from the paddock onto the main road. What do you think of that, John? It's all CGI.
It's iconic and it looks great. I mean, it's easy to cover that up with the the darkness and the rain. That's where lighting helps that.
Yeah, 100%. I think the whole environment that they've created around this CGI image really helps it. And I think Spielberg knew that.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it looks so good.
Yes. And Grant tells Malcolm to stay absolutely still. His vision is based on movement. Reminding us what he said at the start of the movie. Mm-hmm. But in the other car, Lex turns the flashlight on and the T-Rex attacks the car.
Yeah, the kids don't know, which you would think that Tim would know.
Would you hear Tim shouting at her? Turn it off.
Well, yeah, he's aware. So I guess he is aware then.
He's saying turn the light off, and she's going, I'm sorry, but they're panicking and she can't switch it off.
Yeah, she's alarmed by this. I mean, they gave and she probably has no idea. So she's like, it's dark. Like, what is that out there? Let me see.
Maybe she thinks switching it on will scare it away. You know what I mean? But look, when that head comes down, apparently the top of that Jeep wasn't supposed to come through.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the actual animatronic knocked it through onto the stunt performers. and they decided to keep it in the movie. It always kind of reminds me of the cage scene in Jaws, where the shark just can't get its head into the cage and it's pushing Dreyfus's character back. Whereas there, that the dinosaur can get its head in, but it can't get past the shield.
Yeah, it's too big.
That's what that scene always reminds you of. But I love when it cuts back to Grant and then it pans to Malcolm and his side of the windscreen's all just steamed up and he just, just rubs it.
Yeah, I thought that was great too. That's great. I love that little aspect. That's kind of what happens with the rain, so it's perfect.
It's just showing that he's sweating like a beast in there. He's like, because he's
scared shitless. Yeah.
Yeah, he's terrified himself. That shot just of the T-Rex just standing on the Jeep when it's upside down, and it's took a piece of the tire away, and it's like roaring. That's absolutely amazing. But Grant lifts the floor and gets out of the Jeep. He shouts, "Hey!" And I love that shot as well, mate, where he's just standing with the floor, and the T-Rex just looks up and just roars at him.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's so good, and the flare looks so good in the in this dark environment too. So our eyes get drawn to it.
And all the rain coming down and stuff. Even that animatronic T-Rex looks so real.
It does.
And he throws the flare to draw the Rex away from the kids and the Jeep. But Malcolm gets out with the flare himself and he shouts at him,
Hey! Ian, freeze! Get the cat!
and Grant's shouting at him, "Get rid of the flare," which he does, but he keeps running.
Yeah, I know. He's got to stop.
And the T-Rex just knocks him over and into the cubicle, and the cubicle just falls apart, and there is Gennaro sitting on the toilet, terrified.
Yeah, he thought that this would be a good hiding place for himself.
Yeah. So why does the T-Rex eat him when he's not moving? You see him kind of going like that. Is that why?
Well, yeah, like that. He puts his hands up, and I guess like he could see the hands, and then he's like, "Oh, good food."
Yeah.
Because he's still from that point, so it's not like Ian when he's running or anything like that. It's like I don't have to chase him; you're right there.
Yeah, that's right. You see the dinosaur kind of look at it like, "The hell's this?" And he's like, "Oh, okay,
maybe it's like the goat,
Yeah, and he starts shaking it from side to side, very violent death. But one thing about this, there's nothing too graphic.
There's no blood.
Nah, there's a couple of severed limbs in the movie, but we don't really see anybody being pulled apart or anything.
No, they can maintain that PG-13 rating.
Yeah, it's very tame.
It's
just a lot of noise.
Yeah, it looks scarier, and he swallows them up pretty quick.
Yeah. In the meantime, Grant is trying to help Tim and Lex. Tim's feet are caught under the seat of the car. Lex screams, which I think she's a bit over the top of the screaming. I seen behind the scenes, and they were all praising her screaming, saying she was the new Fay Ray. And I'm just like, nah, she's a wee bit over the top there.
Yeah, it's like Kate Capshaw on Temple of Doom in a way.
Yeah, she's really kind of giving it a lot of you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very over the top, and I can see him be like, "I want more of it," and I guess she did it.
I can imagine that. All right, so Grant tells her, "Don't move. He can't see us if we don't move." Many times, the T-Rex guides the car towards the edge, forcing Grant and Lex over the edge themselves, and knocking the destroyed Jeep into a tree. So they're kind of dangling from the old cable, swing to the side. Car comes down, lands in the tree. Timmy's still in the car, and I love that shot then, just of the T-Rex on its own. It just lets this big roar out into the night sky.
Yeah. This is a phenomenal scene. You're absolutely right.
It's iconic.
It is iconic. This is probably the most famous scene in the movie, if I had to guess, other than the one that I like as well.
Yeah. No, that scene of yours is iconic as well. It's an iconic shot of him, taking his glasses off, standing up, and then seeing that Brachiosaurus. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely amazing. But just this scene for me, I love it. This is I always feel as if this movie's brilliant from start to finish, but I just feel as if nothing in the movie from this point on is as good as that scene.
No, you're right. Absolutely right.
Questions, Mr. Wayne. So they knocked the car over the side of the wall and it dropped about 50 feet or whatever it was. How did the T-Rex be able to just walk out of the paddock?
I was wondering the same thing. I thought maybe there was like a little bit of because the car falls into the tree. Was there like a place where he could step over?
Yeah, I've seen this question over the years, and then I seen somebody, I don't know who it was, it drew like I don't know where I seen this of what it actually looks like. That there is actually like a ramp that goes up.
That's what my guess was. Is like there's like a little stepping area for that. Like the truth that's there has to be a place for him to step. I mean, right? Because of the fences there. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I just think it's a continuity flaw, to be honest.
More than likely, that's what it is. And I was thinking the same thing when you're saying like somebody drew it up, and I'm just like, yeah, that's just somebody trying to justify it. It's like how I was talking about like the Devil's Advocate recently, and how Keanu Reeves goes in and out of his accent in the movie, and people are like, well, it shows the two sides of him, like going towards the devil, and like how he was from the South. I'm like, no, it's just because he couldn't do the fucking accent. I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. People will just look, especially when you're a fan of something,
yeah,
I'm passionate about it. People will look for reasoning.
yeah, and I get it, I do, but it's like the more obvious thing is probably more likely.
Yeah, it's just a big mistake. And in the next scene, Ray is trying to decipher what Nerdy was up to. And as you said earlier, John, you have to go through all 2 million lines of code.
Mm-hmm.
Hammond says, Robert, I wonder if you would be good enough to take a gas jeep and bring back my grandchildren. And he's sure. And Ali says, I'm going with him. You hear this kind of heroic music playing. And then Ray turns and says, John, I can't get Jurassic Park back online without Dennis Nerdry. And I've put a note here saying that Ray is a bit useless, isn't he?
Well, what is his exact job? We see him doing the announcements. We kind of see him as like he can do stuff on the computer, but what is his exact position there?
I know. I almost feel as if maybe he's Nerdry's boss, but Nerdry is more a computer literate than him. I don't know. It's just weird. It's like ever since this guy's come into this movie, he hasn't been able to help it with anything. I actually put an extra note here saying, John, I think he's the real imposter.
He might be. He might just be like all the people. He might be just the boss, which I'm sure you've had bosses where it's like they know a little bit about everything, but they don't know how to do everything exactly how the position's being done.
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah. Or they could just be equal positions, but his job's a wee bit different than what
Yeah.
Nerdry has to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see Dennis doing any announcements.
No, he wasn't doing that. Not this day anyway. It could be a ruler for that too.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't know.
He's on them next week.
Yeah.
But the thing is that as I say here, Nerdry's obviously done something here, so they can't work out what he's done, or hasn't made it easy for them to find out what he's done.
Remember, he only needed 18 minutes, so if like something did go wrong in that time, it's like he would have been back in time to fix it. But since he's not coming back, like now it's all locked up and there's no way around it.
Yeah, and he was like, and he says to your man, "I'll give you 15 minutes." So he says he's got 18 minutes. So I can't be 18 minutes there and back, can it?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. I think he figured in a pickle I could do it in 15 because he had 18, but it doesn't seem like that would take. He felt like a lot of driving.
Yeah, well, cut to the next scene, and Dennis Nerdry is on his adventures. He says, "I should have been there by now," and he goes off the road and crashes, and he's stuck, and he sees the road to the east dock below. So I made another note saying, "Surely he's missed the boat by now."
Oh, absolutely, that boat's gone. That the storm is terrible, but at this point, he's desperate to make it. He doesn't even think like it's gone.
Yeah, well, it's the almost like, does it feel like almost a point of no return for him?
Pretty much. What's he going to come back and do now?
That's what makes me think he wasn't going to go back.
Well, that's true. I mean, I don't think he was counting on rain. I don't know. Like, like if he got back, like when it wasn't raining, I don't know how he was going to explain himself. Like, oh, I was just going to get food, but I've been gone for a half hour.
Check the vending machines.
We checked all the vending machines. Where were you?
Yeah, you weren't in any of them. Rob, he should have checked the weather forecast with Robert Muldoon.
Right, it's right there for you.
Yeah. But anyway, he falls, and I hate that whistle to make though. Know that whew.
I know. They had to put it in there.
Very, very comical, very cartoonish, and in his attempt to pull the Jeep out, he encounters a small dinosaur. And he says, yeah, that's nice. Gotta go. Now, I was telling my daughter when we were watching this the other week, if my dog was a dinosaur, it would be a Dilophosaurus.
Really? Yeah, I guess that one does kind of remind you the most of a dog, and especially the way when it gets at the car.
Yeah, and Dennis Neardry, of course, he treats it like a dog, so he tries to play fetch with it, and it's not buzzing, it's just staring at him and looking at him like thinking, what the hell is this thing in front of me? And he says,
And no wonder you're extinct.
I gotta run you over when I come back down.
Like, that's a dumb thing to say. That's a dumb thing to say.
That's just cruel. So it is. And he doesn't know if this is like a Vegisaurus. The Dilophosaurus follows and attacks Nerdry. So I think this is the scariest death in the whole movie. What do you think?
Yeah, because we don't see it too. We just see the car shaking, and it sounds brutal too, by the way, after it spits on him and everything.
Yeah, it's the what would you call that? Membrane coming out, and the rattlesnake sound and the screeching, and as you say, when it hits him with that poisonous goo, and that's what us as an audience member realize. That's
the blinding stuff from earlier.
Here it is, and he runs and he hits his head and drops the canister, and it falls down into the river. And I remember after watching this movie for the first time, thinking there'll be a sequel, because what about the canister with the embryos? Somebody's bound to find that. And I remember an interview with Spielberg saying that was his intention, that the sequel would be someone would find the canister, and that is why he lingers on it.
I was going to say
the
that
model falling on it.
They linger on it for so long.
So, of course, he then gets into the Jeep, and you think he's safe, and that's when you hear the noise, the rattle, and he turns, and there's the Dilophosaurus has got into the Jeep with him, and that's terrifying. I love how when he's sitting, his big gut is just sitting out. It's like, bon appetit.
Yep, this guy's like, oh, I got myself a fat one. Great. And then it just, the brutal sounds like,
yeah, the screaming and and then the Jeep and all shaking and stuff. And I'm near certain, John, that lane that Grant says at the start of the movie about, he says to the kid about spilling your intestines, that's how it's described in the book about Nerdry's death.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's brutal, and we don't see it. We just see the Jeep, and then, because of the, the interior and everything fogging up, we could just see it shaking.
Yeah, that's right. Brilliant scene. That's another great scene, but for me, that's the scariest death in the whole film.
Yeah, I would say so.
And the next scene, Grant climbs the tree to rescue Tim, and Grant assures Lex he will not leave them. This is the start of Grant becoming a parental. This is a good set piece with the car.
It is a good set piece. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, it's not amazing for me, but it's okay. I like eventually when he gets down and the car falls, and Tim says, well, we're back in the car again.
We're back in the car again. I love that little line.
And Grant says, well, at least you're out of the tree.
Yeah. Right? I love the little tease, like, oh, did the car land on them? But it's just like perfectly landed on them, so they're not dead.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we cut then to Ali and Muldoon. They arrive at the Tyrannosaur paddock. So I love the music in this scene, Joe.
Oh, yeah. No, this is great.
And Ali's wondering where the other car is. And Muldoon they're looking about, and Muldoon picks something up in the background and says, I think this was Gennaro. And Ali says, I think this was too. And they can hear a roaring, and Muldoon says it could be anywhere. With the fences down, it can wander in and out of any paddock it likes. And then they hear this groan, and it's Malcolm. He's put a tourniquet on. And I love this line. He says, remind me to thank John for a lovely weekend. Oh, God. They hear another roar, and Ellie says, can we chance moving him? And I love no, he's out of the frame. I love just how he sits up and looks into the camera and says, please chance it.
Please chance it. Yeah, of course. Like, get me the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here as soon as possible. So she fades the other car on the other side of the paddock, but they go down, and Grant and the kids are gone. They're not there. They see the footprints going off. And I just want to make a note about Grant's boots, by the way. Throughout this whole movie, his boots, the bottom of his boots are spotless.
Yeah, they must be cleaning them every day before set and not really thinking about that.
Yeah, even when he's climbing the fence at the end, you see the bottom of his boots, and there isn't a speck of mud or dirt on them. I take her for a walk through the footpaths, and my boots come back muddied.
Yeah, that just makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's a little
Spotless.
continuity thing where that like they stopped at the bottom of the clothes and like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, give me a clean pair of boots today.
Yeah,
This is where the T-Rex chases the Jeep.
classic scene as well.
Brilliant. Malcolm sees the footprints in the mud in the ground and sees the ripples, the lanes in the water, and he calls them back. And of course, they start getting chased down by this T-Rex. And you see that great shot of objects in the mirror are closer than they appear.
Must go faster.
Yeah, you see the T-Rex like right on top of him.
But you know what I noted about this? This is oddly cut, this scene. They're supposed to be outside the Tyrannosaur paddock, but it cuts, and that's not where they are.
That's a good point. I never really thought about that, actually.
Do you know when, like, I would like to know what happened here, because do you know, maybe it was an afterthought, this scene? Maybe they done it in post when they seen how far they could push the CGI or something. I don't know, but when they're outside the Tyrannosaur paddock, and when it cuts to this scene, Malcolm's clearly lying in the Jeep. You can see the paddock behind him.
Yeah.
And he goes, come on. And then it cuts to them running to the Jeep. And when the camera cuts to when the T-Rex comes through a big tree, and they're not at the paddock anymore.
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. I wonder if like that's something that probably just happened in the edit.
It's just all shrubbery and all trees. I'm starting to think that they drive off from that particular area and have to stop for some reason. And then the T-Rex caught up with them, but they just put them both together for pacing.
Probably. That's probably more than likely what it is, because it did feel pretty quick to them, the T-Rex catching up to him.
Mm-hmm. But as I say, once again, it cuts when the T-Rex comes through the tree. They're not at the paddock anymore. They haven't moved anywhere.
Yeah. So how'd that happen? Maybe the
Mhm.
island's moving.
Yeah. So yeah, I have to love this. As I say, Muldoon says, "Get off the stick, bloody move!" Because Earl Malcolm is backing his way into the front of the Jeep. He's like, and then eventually when they out race the T-Rex, Muldoon loves it. He's got this wee smirk on his face. You know, he's the adrenaline's pumping, John. So it is, and he's got one over that T-Rex. And I love this line from Malcolm. He sits up and he says, "Think they'll have that on the tour?"
Honestly, it'd be a great ride.
It would. I thought that was so funny when I seen that in the cinema.
Uh.
So Grant, Tim, and Lex climb the tree, and Tim's saying, "I hate trees," and Lex says, "They don't bother me," and he says, "Oh yeah, you weren't in the last one."
Yeah, which is fair. I would hate trees too then.
Yeah, and they see the Bronchosaurus singing and settle down for the night. Grant sits on his raptor claw fossil, and Lex says, "What are you and Ellie going to do now if you don't have to dig up bones anymore?" And he says, "I don't know. I guess we'll just have to evolve too."
Yeah, well, I guess so. You have really no choice.
And Tim tells his lame dinosaur jokes, which are about as old as the dinosaurs. I love the music in this scene, John.
This has some great music as well. This is a very sweet scene. I like that, obviously talking about how they're vegetarians too, so like they don't eat people.
Well, I think that's the next one when they're feeding them. But this is basically the scene here where she says, "Well, the dinosaurs come back," and Grant says, "I'll stay up," and she says, "All night." He says, "All night." So they're fatherly protector, and then he just throws the fossil away.
That's true. Well, yeah, throw it away like his job essentially.
Yeah, well, it's useless now, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Who wants a fossil when you can have the real thing?
Yeah, and no one's gonna care about that. It's like human bones. It's like that's only good for scientific purposes. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah. So we cut to the visitor center, and we see all that Jurassic Park merchandise on display as the camera pans along. Free advertising. I love this scene. This is the scene here with Hammond and Allie in the night scene.
I love the score here. This is one of my favorite pieces of music in the whole movie.
Yes, well, we were discussing this before we started recording.
No, I was just gonna say I just love the music that's playing over this whole thing. It's like on a xylophone kind of thing. I love it. I just absolutely love it. You know, kind of sombering kind of music. Just me some of the best music in the whole film.
Yeah, well, you had mentioned that to me the other day, and I happened to be listening to the soundtrack that day. And as I say, I have the original soundtrack. I don't know if it's on the original soundtrack. It might be, but it's on obviously on the expanded soundtrack. And this piece of music is called Petticoat Lane, and it's named after what Hammond describes in this scene. And the amazing thing is that it's a unique piece of music just for this scene. This music is representing his old endeavor, but which he's talking about, which happened many years ago. You don't hear this theme anywhere else in the movie. And I just think that's genius for John Williams to recognize that.
Yeah, he knows the importance of the scene because this is a very good scene. This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie as well. You know, it's simple. It's just between the two of them. You get a real peek into like John Hammond's mind and how he cares, and I love it.
I love it too. I think it's possibly my second favorite scene in the whole movie. I really enjoy this. This is what Spielberg does. We touched on this early when we started the podcast, John. When we talked about Spielberg and stuff, that he always, not always, but in a lot of his movies, he does that quiet night scene.
That's true.
Where,
He does do a lot of these.
yeah, where they're eating.
Yeah, well, you gotta eat. You know, this time it's ice cream.
It's ice cream, and Hammond starts to tell her. He says, "You know, the first attraction I ever built when I came down from Scotland, Bonnie, Scotland, was a flea circus, Petticoat Lane. We had a wee trapeze. Can I just say we? We had a wee trapeze.
Yeah,
Do you guys say we?
we say small.
Yeah. See, that's something that the Irish say, especially in the north. We would say we. Like I would say, see if I bought a coat, I would say to you, I bought a wee coat the other day.
Yeah,
And you'd be thinking, David bought a small coat. And I'd be like,
that
no, it's just something we say.
it's just you put an extra word in there. You might be
Yeah.
like we might say I bought a nice coat. Like we might be throwing nice in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's saying it being Scottish, so the Scottish probably say it too.
Yeah, feels like that. I love his
Yeah.
accent.
Yeah. He says a merry-go, and then he stops carousel. Again, that's another thing. We would call it a merry-go-round, and you guys would call it a carousel, which is
I think we call it a merry-go-round. That's what. Yeah,
is merry-go-round more of a slang word?
I don't know. Like a merry-go-round. That's the thing with the horses that goes in a circle, right? Yeah, it's a merry-go-round. I never call it a carousel. A carousel is something like I think where the shopping carts come out of.
Yeah. Well, he corrects himself because he stops. He goes a wee merry-go, and he stops. He goes carousel. And then he says a seesaw. They all moved, motorized, of course, but people would say they could see the fleas. I can see the fleas, mummy. I can see the fleas. Clown fleas, high wire fleas, fleas on parade. But with this place, I wanted to show them something that wasn't an illusion, something that was real, something they could see and touch, and an aim not devoid of merit. I love that. I love this is a man who just had a dream and wanted to give more than an illusion, wanted to give something that people could really, as he says, feel and touch.
Yeah, I mean it's beautiful.
It's heartbreaking.
It is because his intentions were good. Like that's what I always say about him. His intentions were good, and it just kind of fell apart. And like he never intended for this to happen, and now he's got his own grandkids in danger.
And that's the whole thing to his grandkids being out there. If he had have thought, as you said, there was any danger at all, he would never have put his grandkids in that position.
No, it's one thing. Then that's the thing when you bring him in is like his intentions was to give all these people a good time too, and he's like, prove it. Look, I got my own grandkids here, and I love my grandkids, and like I love them more than anything. And unfortunately, it didn't work out.
And he's trying to reassure himself. He says about,
Next time.
Nobody says who better than to get them through a dinosaur park than a dinosaur expert. He's trying to reassure Ellie and reassure himself that they're all going to be in good hands. But you're right. He goes on to say, he blames Nerdry. He's like, Harry Nerdry was a mistake. That's obvious.
Yeah.
We're over dependent on automation. I can see that now. Next time, everything's correctable. Creation is an act of sheer will. Next time, it'll be flawless.
Yeah.
And that's where she kind of loses it and says, it's still a flea circus. It's all an illusion. She lets off on one here. Now, I'll have to go through what she says first. She says, you never had control. That's the illusion. Now, I was overwhelmed by the power of this place. Well, I made a mistake too. I didn't have enough respect for that power, and now it's out. The only thing that matters now are the people we love. Alan, Lex, Tim, John, they're out there where people are dying. Now, reading that dialogue, I like the dialogue. I think she overdoes it.
Yeah, she does. It's a little bit like Laura Dern in this movie does overact a little bit, even in the beginning when the first time we see her talking to Alan Grant. I'm like, she's a little overly emotional in these kinds of moments, and yeah, she does. You know, Laura Dern's always kind of been like that, like a little bit. So I do see it here too. I agree.
Do you know, it's funny, like reading that dialogue and thinking about Attenborough's performance in that scene. Like, I'm not saying she had to copy him, but if she had just took it down a notch, I think it would have hit a wee bit better. Her just screaming and shouting at him, I just didn't like that.
No, because he's not screaming and shouting. He's perfectly tame in this moment. You guys are just having a conversation. Imagine just having a conversation and someone just gets up kind of like yelling at you. And it's like, why? We were just talking here.
Yeah, but you know, do you think, John, that it would have been more powerful if she had have been a wee bit more measured in the way she put her point across?
Absolutely.
I'm not just talking within the context of the movie. He takes the point. I'm talking about just from an acting point of view.
I agree, and I think that's why, like, you kind of remember mostly his side of the conversation more than her side. Her side seems a little more preachy.
Yeah, it's very, as you said, emotional.
A little too emotional for like what the scene actually is.
I think so. I've always felt that about that scene. It doesn't ruin the scene for me. I don't like that part of it.
No, it doesn't ruin it.
And she takes some of the ice cream and she says it's good. And then he, like Chevy Chase and his, you know, his, what do you call it? Eggnog.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good.
And, it's good. And he says, "Spare no expense."
Yeah, it's good ice cream. I want that ice cream.
Yeah. Well, I actually like more the cakes and stuff that they come into towards the end. The kids come into, because I'm not a big ice cream fan.
I can do either.
Can you?
Oh yeah. I'll eat it all.
I sickened myself once with ice cream. It's never been the same since.
Yeah, that you know, when you have a bad experience like that, it will ruin it for you.
Yeah. So now we have this Brachiosaurus feeding scene, John. A Vegisaurus, Lex, a Vegisaurus. And it's a very light, a more light-hearted scene after all that darkness we've just had. And Grant says, "Think of it as a big cow." And she says, "I like cows." And then it just sneezes on her. She gets covered in snot. And Tim shouts, "God bless you." That's the Spielberg cheese.
Yeah, you got to have a little bit of that in there.
I think she just get hit with cheese.
The tree they're sitting in always kind of reminded me of like the big giant grass and like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, do you think this scene kind of looks a bit fake?
It does look fake. That's what I'm getting at. It looks very artificial, like something you would see in like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where you know it's a big giant set.
Yeah, I think so too. This and obviously the tree scene before that, but what makes this worse is that they have that big animatronic head come in, and it just doesn't look as good as the T-Rex.
No, and that's where the lighting kind of comes in. It's like it's brighter out now.
Yeah. So next we hear Tim and Lex. Next we hear Tim tease Lex for being a computer nerd.
I'm not a nerd. I'm a hacker. And I'm just like, oh, that's the line that gets me.
Yep. She reassures him that's not what she is. She's a hacker. And Grant discovers the dinosaur eggs. The dinosaurs are breeding. And as you said, touched on earlier, John, West African frogs contain sex from female to male in a single sex environment. So you'd think the engineers at Jurassic Park would know this.
Or you'd think he would bring that up when they were talking about it too.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are supposed to be, like, as John Hammond says, these are the real geniuses of Jurassic Park. Oh, so we'll just use this DNA, which they can switch sex. You didn't know this.
You didn't know this when you took that DNA from that exact fucking frog? I don't believe that. Like, I think you would study the thing you're taking the DNA from.
Yeah.
Alan Grant do it, though.
Well, he says, Malcolm was right. Life found a way.
And it will.
And then we cut to that epic shot of Jeff Goldblum laying with his shirt open, like he's on the cover of the Thriller album.
Yeah, but when they set this up, did they know well, he's a sex symbol, right? Like, let him just be there all fucking shined up and everything,
chest and all showing, you know.
And they have him there for a while like that.
Oh yeah, they kind of Spielberg, I think, kind of like, does he not slowly zoom in a wee bit on him?
Yeah.
Or zoom out. I can't remember, but like I would like to know what that conversation was.
Yeah, I know that feels like difficult. Just get me like this. I mean, the shirt had to be ripped open. Then, like, he's lying there for quite some time. Like, even like when he's not in the shot, like he's like in the background, he's still there like that.
Yeah, that heavy breathing and all. It's brilliant.
He's a rock star.
He is a rock star. So in the control room, they are debating shutting down the entire system to reboot it, and Ray is reluctant as it may not work. See, here he goes again, sick, being negative. But Hammond insists him, people are dying. Will you please shut down the system? So Ray does what he's told. He says,
hold on to your butts.
And it comes up, the system's ready. So it worked. However, the shutdown tripped the circuit breakers. Conveniently, the breakers are in the what?
I said, of course.
Yes, the breakers are in the maintenance shed at the other end of the compound.
Why would you put them there?
I know, and there's something else that I want to point out later on too. So he says 3 minutes, I'll have the power back on in the park, and Hammond instructs him to the emergency bunker until Arnold returns. The whole system is up and running again. So, firstly, why didn't Muldoon go with Ray?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the other thing. Why didn't he do that?
Why didn't he go with him? He watches back. He's just kind of like, just let Ray go. It's fine. I'll stay with you guys in the bunker, in the emergency bunker.
Yeah, he's scared, I guess.
But he'll go with Ellie.
Yeah, well, Ellie's a pretty lady.
Well, maybe that's what it is. It's the gentlemanly thing to do.
Well, they also said that, like, when she volunteers and everything, and like John's like, well, you're and then he doesn't say it. He's like, well, sexism aside, I can do this.
I have something to say about that too, and I'll get to that. So we'll go into the Gallimimus scene, where we see the Gallimimuses, and of course, Grant has got his paleontologist head on. He's saying, "Oh, look how they're flocking," and Tim says they're flocking this way. So they end up running, getting chased by these Gallimimuses, and they hide behind a fallen tree when the T-Rex comes out of the trees and eats one. And Grant says, "I bet you'll never look at birds the same again."
Which is a callback from the beginning. The CGI in here that's where it's kind of aged a little bit, is in this one scene. I feel like they're very obviously CGI.
Yeah, and I feel as if this was one of the original tests. One of the original tests in the CGI was a T-Rex walking through the forest, and then they done this one as well. And I always remember, this was one of the ones that convinced them that this was the way to go. But I always remember this scene was one of the scenes that they tried to promote the movie with. This was like the scene you seen in film shows or making ofs, or look how great this CGI is. And it hasn't aged amazingly, but I don't think it's terrible.
It's not terrible. It's like, it's one of those things, like when you play video games, you notice how the generations jump in quality. That when you go back to like say you jumped from PlayStation 1 and then you're playing a PlayStation 3, and then you go back to the PlayStation 1, you're like, oh wow, it does look good at all, but you didn't notice that in the moment. So now it's just one of those things, like it's like, oh, okay, it just hasn't aged well.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree, mate. And so in the bunker, Ellie's concerned Arnold hasn't returned. She says something's went wrong. Hammond says this is just a delay. All major theme parks have delays. When they opened Disneyland in 1956, nothing worked. And I love this line from Malcolm again. He says, but John, if the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists.
He's right.
And Ali decides she's going to go and put the power on. Muldoon says, you can't just stroll down the road, And I love his accent. And I don't know, I think he's supposed to be South African, but I think that actor's British.
I thought it was more like New Zealand.
Or maybe it is New Zealand. Maybe it is. But he says about him being in Kenya, but he could be New Zealand. I'm not sure where Bob Pack's from. I think he was British.
I don't know. Let me look that up. I got Jurassic Park open right here.
Yeah, because I remember watching the thing last year. He was at where they're on YouTube about the premiere of Jurassic Park, and he was there and he was being interviewed. He died not long after this. Yeah, I think he died of cancer not long after Jurassic Park.
Bob Peck was an English actor. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he died there, right? He died 7 years after this movie. 6 years.
Yeah.
53 years old. That's terrible.
Young.
Yeah, very young. Cancer
Robert
gets
Shaw.
everyone.
Just like Robert Shaw, a few years after Jaws. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, Spielberg killing people. The
Yeah.
whole cast of Poltergeist,
Yeah, with his fucking mechanical animals.
Yeah.
He opens a locker to reveal weapons, and he says, "I'm going with you." Hammond grabs a schematic to talk them through it with walkie-talkies, and Hammond says, "It ought to be me really going." She says, "Why?" And he says, "I'm a," and you're a, and Ali says, "We can discuss sexism in survival situations when I get back." Now, I want to know, John, can we also discuss ageism in survival situations when she gets back too?
Yeah, that's true. I was thinking he was a little old.
That's ageism. This man could be more able than he's more able than Jeff Goldblum at the minute.
Right. Yeah. Well, Jeff Goldblum's he's out of he's fucked up right now. He can't do anything.
Yeah, she's assuming because he's old that he couldn't go across and switch those breakers on. That's ageism.
I thought that though. I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, I'm saying it.
Yeah, I'm being honest. I looked at him and I was like, "He's a little old here for this."
Yeah. So we go. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, they both misjudged the other.
Yeah, that's the first time she's mentioned certain stuff. Anyway, outside the bunker, here's another thing that I was gonna touch on very soon, which happens to be beside the raptor pen. So they built the raptor pen beside the emergency bunker.
Just dumb design.
Who designed this park? Stevie Wonder?
Probably. But I mean, they've already overlooked a lot of stuff that's failing before the park even opens. So a lot of mistakes made.
Never mind the perimeter fence and the concrete moats. We've put the raptor pen right beside the emergency bunker.
Yeah, not smart at all.
Yeah. So they'll be scratching at the doors if they get out. Anyway, so we see they've escaped, and Muldoon says, "The shutdown must have turned off the fences. Damn it. Even Nergy knew that better than to mess with the raptor fences." I mean, surely he would know what. You're shutting everything down.
Yeah, I don't think he was thinking about that.
Yeah. So they head towards the shed, and Ali says they can make it if they run. And he says, "No, we can't." And Muldoon turns, so sinister, sweating, focused, and he says, "Because we're being hunted."
Because we're being hunted.
There, in the trees. Run. So he tells her to run to the shed. She takes off, and he just kind of goes into the bushes instead of running with her. I suppose it's one of those things where they say if a dog chases you or runs at you, don't run away. Stand your ground.
That's true.
Get mauled on your feet instead of while they're running.
Once he catches up to you, you're done.
Yeah. Well, they say, once you start running, then it gives them kind of license to pursue. Where if you stand your ground, it throws them off. They don't know what to do because you're,
That's true. That's a good point.
Because you're showing no fear. Inside, she calls for Arnold and radios Hammond, who starts to give her instructions. He says, "Ahead of you is a metal staircase. Go down it. There's nowhere else she can go."
I know. He's just like reading the whole thing like verbatim, no matter what it says.
And he's like, 30 to 40 feet, there's a T-junction. Turn left. And that's where Malcolm turns around and says about to follow the main cable above. And he says, "I understand how to read a schematic."
I understand how to read a schematic.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Grant and the kids approach the main parameter, and he sees the lights are off. So he throws a stick at the fence and guesses the power's off. So he pretends to be electrocuted. Lax screams and Tim laughs. And then they hear a roar and start up the fence.
Yeah, good scene here. We know that this has 10,000 volts of energy going through it, so we better hope it doesn't turn on.
Yeah, well, I exactly terrifying, and I love how he's having a wee bit of banter with the kids and stuff like that. That's where you can see the turn in his character, where he's kind of very sour and stern earlier. Now he's smiling, having a bit of a joke. He's a bit looser, a wee bit friendlier.
They built up a back and forth with each other.
Yeah, he's having a bit of a joke with him, and Malcolm then takes over from Hammond and instructs Ellie to follow the main cable above, which brings her to the breaker. As Hammond instructs her how to turn the power on, and the fence starts to sound a warning. Grant and Lex are down, and they tell Tim to jump, but he's electrocuted and blown from the fence. So all this is great. All this kind of suspense that's building up, the intercutting between her and the shed, Hammond instructing her, and Damon's just climbing over the fence. I think it's really well done. I always remember like being on the edge of my seat watching this in the cinema.
Oh yeah, it's great editing in this sequence because you're like, are they gonna get down before like she turns it back on? And then of course like Tim ends up and you're like, holy shit, is Tim dead? I think he would die, but you know he doesn't.
He doesn't. I know. Who's to say he would even survive, even
Yeah.
if he did revive him.
I don't think he does. That's 10,000 volts of energy in one shot. I don't think so.
I know. And back in the shed, a raptor tries to attack Ellie, and we see Ray Arnold's severed arm.
Yeah, that sucks for him.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Arnold.
Oh, Mr. Arnold.
How did that arm just fall out of there?
Very conveniently.
Yeah. And after was like a cigarette in between his two fingers.
Well, that's what he'd be.
Or if it come down, I guess, and she went, "Oh, Mr. Arnold," took a suck of the cigarette, and then turned around, and it was just an arm.
In your honor.
in your armor.
In your armor.
So she gets the hell out of there, shutting the door behind her. She's terrified. She's crying, and we then lead on to John. Now, this is just a lot of action here, a lot of small scenes interacting, just trying to wrap things up, because nothing's as good as the T-Rex attack scene. Muldoon's death, poetic.
Yeah, pretty much.
Clever girl.
You had to know he was gonna die. I knew he was gonna die like the first time I saw this movie, like right in the second when he stayed back and like let her run.
Yeah.
I was like, at some point he's gonna die and they'll show us.
Yeah. Well, it becomes cliche, the hunter becomes the hunted. The only thing was that he thought he was hunting them and they were hunting him all along.
Yeah, he knew they were hunting him though. Like at this point, he knew that he was being hunted. So I don't know if he knew he was gonna get out of this or it was just like fight till my death.
Yeah, and it's just as Grant described at the start of the movie. Whereas, for all what Muldoon knows, he didn't realize that's how they attack. Whereas Grant knows that.
Yeah, they come from the side and everything like that.
To distract you.
Distract you forward. Exactly. He explained exactly how it was going to happen.
Whereas Grant would have knew that if he was in that position.
They basically explained to us a lot of the deaths that are going to happen in the beginning of the movie.
To explain how they're actually carried out. And I love that. That's became an iconic line that he says there. Clever girl.
Clever girl. I always say that line.
So as you said there, Grant gives Tim CPR and he revives him. And they then arrive back at the visitor center. He leaves him to look for the others. Is that a wise idea? Knowing that, the fences might be on, but that's not to say that the animals are going to be on the other side of the fence.
No, but then we won't get some iconic shots here.
That's true.
This is what you're talking about with the food table, right?
Yes, so we do. There's a food table here. They get stuck into the food, and being made outside, Ellie's coming back to the visitor center, and she sees Grant and tells him to run. But as the kids eat, Lex shakes with the jelly.
Oh, that's a classic one, yeah. Which, by the way, looks delicious. Faith commented when she's like, "Ugh, green Jello," and I was like, "That's the best one."
Yeah, jelly's great. I love jelly. And as you said about iconic shots, just the drawing of the raptor on the window, and then you see like the silhouette come behind it.
Perfect setup for that too. Yeah, no, this whole thing is like very iconic. Like them all covered in like whatever the fuck was outside, and them eating, and then like realizing what's about to happen. It's so good.
And of course, John, we go into the kitchen scene, which recently Stranger Things 5 played homage to.
Stranger Things rips off a lot of scenes, and if you remember from Stranger Things 2, when they even have what's his name from Aliens actually in the control center this time, like he just was like in Aliens. What's his name?
Paul Reiser.
Paul Reiser. Yeah, I'm like, this is the scene right out of Aliens.
Yeah. Well, I seen that in Stranger Things, and I just went, They've ripped off Jurassic Park, and I actually wrote down ripped off, but I didn't want to say it. I thought it was going to be too mean. That's why I said played homage to, and then you were like, they rip off everything. That's why I was laughing there.
They do. There's even like a point like with the because they had Linda Hamilton and like you can hear like beats in the score. I'm like, that's just right out of Terminator. I'm like, I know what they're doing, but it's just like, come on, like you're not even trying to hide it.
Yeah, and the whole thing is like I only watched Stranger Things once, obviously, but that whole scene in the kitchen, which looks exactly like this kitchen,
Exactly
and
the same.
Exactly the same. Only with the Demogorgons, they were even jumping up on top of the tables and knocking, or the kitchen, what do you call it, tops, and knocking things off. Like, I think one of them actually licks something as well.
Yeah,
Once it's like the Velociraptor.
Yeah, it's the same exact fucking sequence, which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a classic sequence, but it's like, I guess imitation is the best form of flattery, but come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a complete rip-off. We'll have this brief scene first, John, in the bunker where Grant's got a gun, and he says, it's just the 2 raptors, right? You sure the third one's contained? And Ellie says, yes, unless they've figured out how to open doors, which, of course, we see they have.
Yep.
And, as I mentioned earlier, the kids are great in this movie, and they will have this whole suspenseful set piece in the kitchen, which ends up with one of the raptors being locked in a giant freezer.
Yeah, they tricked them.
But I do like that one. That even tricked me when I first seen it in the cinema.
Oh yeah,
where she goes to climb inside the cupboard and can't pull the shutter down, and you think it's going to get her, only it's the reflection in the opposite.
Yeah, I love that, like
counter.
a mirror. Yeah,
that even got me in the cinema.
Well shot too with that. Which this is CGI, so it works out good. But it's like it's very, very well shot to trick you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's so good. So outside, Tim and Lex run into Grant and Ellie. I'm just saying about CGI, about them running into the thing. But the other shots, I love how they done like the Raptors. They had men in suits as puppeteering as the Raptors. Like they even had like just legs. So when you see the shot behind from the raptor legs jumping off the thing and then running, that's a man in a suit, which the raptor he's just wearing the raptor legs. That's it.
Movie magic, man.
And then you have maybe the ones from the legs up, and then the animatronic heads attached.
Yeah, very well done.
It's really good. I mean, there's footage of like them running about practicing the raptor walk.
I mean, that's your actors, right? This is acting.
Yep, these are animators. You're just going to animate your whole body.
Yeah, that's great.
It is great. So outside, Tim and Lex run into Grant and Ellie, and they see control room to reboot the system. Then we have this tug of war between the Raptor, Grant, and Ellie with the door. But alas, Lex, the hacker, can sort out the system in 30 seconds.
Fucking figures out the entire. I know this. I'm like, how the fuck do you know this? But whatever, it figures it out, and it's got like the most bland like system where it's each is a block and it controls it, and she figures out exactly where it is. Like I said, this is the stuff that aged the worst for me is her and the hack and shit.
This scene bothers me.
Yeah, it bothers me too. It's just because again, like I said, like it's they didn't know this technology was really new at this time. We didn't know what it would evolve into. I mean, listen, they made movies like that are just called Hackers. So it's like they didn't know exactly what it would become. But looking back now, it's like, damn, that's aged really bad.
Yeah. And, I'm near certain that some of this stuff is in the book. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've read it, but it goes more in depth into it. But the thing is that, Hammond didn't need Nedry all along. He could have just hired his granddaughter.
All right. She's smarter than him.
Yeah.
Complains less too, and is less of a slob.
And just get rid of Ray Arnold too. He was useless.
Well, he's gone now. We don't got to worry. We don't got to worry about them. He's gonna need a whole new staff if he wants to open back up. But thankfully, he doesn't.
But what if they clone Ray Arnold from his arm?
They could. Thank God that there's always a limb left over.
You know what I mean? Life finds a way, John. Imagine they brought him back for the sequel, but cloned him.
Well, like you said, the book somehow brings back Ian Malcolm. So anything's possible.
Anything's possible. Could you imagine, like, Ian Malcolm getting to the island in the Lost World, and there's Ray Arnold sitting there? He's like,
still smoking,
butts, still with the fags. Oh, still wearing the same gear and all. Saying, I've been here for years.
Yeah,
they didn't come and rescue me.
No, everyone forgot about old Ray.
Old Ray, hold on to your butts. Grant phones Hammond in the bunker and tells him the kids are fine and to call the mainland to send the damn helicopters.
Get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper. Do it now. Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts.
So you could have see if this was James Cameron. So you would have Arnie, right? Grant. So Ray Arnold would be played by. We can't say the guy out of Terminator 2, Joe Morton. What about if they got what do you call your man from Predator to play Ray
Carl
Arnold?
Weathers?
Oh, you could get Carl Weathers to play him.
Yeah, you get Carl. I think you get Carl Weathers. I think that would be perfect.
Yeah, I was thinking of what do you call the other guy? He's in Commando and Predator, the Green Beret.
Oh, Bill Duke.
Bill Duke.
Yeah, you get Bill Duke too. I love Bill Duke, but I just immediately thought of Carl Weathers.
Because and you'd have Michael Biehn could play Dr. Ian Malcolm.
That works.
So who would be Hammond?
Who would be John Hammond? You know, who's an older actor through any of these movies? I'm trying to think.
In a Jim Cameron Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. There's not really many senior guys in many of his movies when you think about it, unless you get the captain from Titanic a couple of years earlier.
Oh yeah. Or maybe you could just get Joe Morton.
Could get Joe Morton if you wanted to. Yeah. I picture the guy, the stepfather from Terminator 2 would be playing what's his name there?
Nerdry?
Not Nerdry. No, freaking we just were talking about why am I drawing a blank on his name? Oh my god, hold on a second. Muldoon. He looks like Muldoon.
Muldoon. Well, listen, he always gets his wife, what do you call her? Jeanette Goldstein.
Yeah.
He always gets her, so she would have to play someone in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, who would she play? She might play the Laura Dern. Well, that's Linda Hamilton, obviously.
That's Linda Hamilton.
Yeah. Well, who else would she play then? You got to have her in there somewhere.
We'll get it. We'll have to think of something.
Yeah.
There's no other women in this movie.
No, there's not.
Apart from the dinosaurs.
Well, they're all female, so that takes up half the cast.
Yeah. No, I think it would need somebody more prominent than the stepfather from Terminator 2 to play Muldoon. I know who would play Muldoon.
Robert Patrick.
Nope. Or Lance Henriksen.
Yeah, Lance Henriksen. That's perfect too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works. We gotta have Bill Paxton somewhere in there. Maybe Bill Paxton takes over the Rainier character, the Dennis character.
I'm thinking Bill Paxton could play the guy who gets killed at the start.
Oh, that's a good one. You know, he always does get killed, or he could play the lawyer.
Yeah, or the lawyer. Robert Patrick would be good as the lawyer, but I actually think you're right. I think Robert Patrick as Dennis Nerdry.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah,
Robert Patrick's got range. You know, we saw him with that huge gambling problem in The Sopranos.
Yes. Come on, Tony. Our kids go to school together.
You got 2 days.
Stop. Every time he got in trouble, he went, "But our kids, Tony."
Yeah, then he takes the fucking car from him.
Takes the Jeep and gives it to his daughter. Oh, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. David, you called him too, wasn't it? Davey. Get it back in your fucking hole.
Yeah.
You're doing a good job, Davey.
He got warned a lot. So
he did. He deserved it. Especially when I love that episode where he goes to play the poker and he won't let him in. Tony's like, "Listen, this is out of your hand." He's like, "Okay," and he lets him in, and then Tony falls asleep, wakes up, and he's still there next morning, and he's like, "How far is he in?" And he's like, "Jesus Christ."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he fucked up. But that's what he's a goddamn addict.
Yeah.
Degenerate gambler.
Like Nedry. Anyway,
yeah.
Burst amazing. So the Raptors are coming through the glass, and he shoots at them, and this is where Hammond shouts, "Don't!" So I've written here why. So we can assume that despite everything, he doesn't want these animals harmed.
Yeah, he's an animal lover, but I mean, if it's them or you better make sure. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, they're coming through the glass. Your grandkids are in there.
Yeah, exactly. You got to shoot them now. Shooter!
He came crawling in, half a body. Shooter!
Yeah.
You know, they're lethal at 8 months. So they make their way out above the roof tiles and through a vent out onto the visitor center, climbing down the dinosaur bones. Raptor in pursuit. This is a great action scene, John. So it is them climbing down and the bones all breaking apart and them falling. So through, obviously, you know, the special features, if anybody's aware of this, the ending of this movie was supposed to be that the raptors would die by falling off the fossilized bones. They would get trapped in the bones. Like one of them, one of the bones would go through one, and then another one would get trapped in the head, and then they would just escape, make it to the helicopter. So the second raptor appears. That's the one. So that was the one that I'm trying to think where these raptors came from, because there's one in the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
There was one in the shed. So the one that comes in, that's the one that was in the shed.
Yeah.
And the one that was pursuing him, that's the third one.
Yeah, because they said there was 3.
They said there was 3. So the one gets out of the shed. So that one comes in. And Spielberg thought to himself that the audience would never forgive him if we didn't get one more appearance of the T-Rex. So at the last minute, he changed the whole ending. And the whole ending, as we see, is just as the raptor's about to pounce, the T-Rex comes in and grabs the raptor and kills it.
Like I said, the T-Rex gets the redemption arc in this movie.
Yeah. And I can be testament to Spielberg's instincts because I remember
That's the shot.
That's the shot.
Yeah, with the banner falling and everything. Oh, love it.
Amazing, but I can attest to this because see, when I was watching this, I can still remember when I was watching this movie, I wanted more T-Rex, and when that came in at the end, I loved that. The only thing I was disappointed about was that because I was a big Jaws fan, and this was Spielberg, and he was making a dinosaur movie, and as I say, he made it more of a animal movie than a monster movie. I wanted this big rousing ending like Jaws. I wanted to see them take the T-Rex out spectacularly like they did with Jaws. That was the only thing I was really disappointed about, but I was so happy to see it come back in at the end. And you're right. It saves the day. And while the other raptor attacks, they escape. But first of all, outside, Hammond pulls up on a Jeep with Malcolm in the back. And Grant says, "Mr. Hammond, after careful consideration, I've decided not to endorse your park."
So have I.
So have I. And the way he looks, this is a little cheesy, but it works to end the movie. Because obviously,
no,
is he going to say, are they going to have this conversation right here? But no, it doesn't work unless he do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it works well.
Yeah, it does. I love it. Listen, I love it.
Yeah, I love how he's like, "So am I."
So am I.
And then we have this iconic shot of the Rex killing the raptor, throwing it into the T-Rex skeleton, spinning round and roaring as that banner comes down when dinosaurs rule the earth. It's epic.
It is. Love that shot. Awesome shot. One last roar as they drive away.
It's iconic. It really is. And I love this next shot of the muddied Jurassic Park sign on the Jeep because it's juxtaposition at the start of the movie. When they first come to the island, because if you remember, they show the door of the Jeep when they first land and it's clean.
Now they've been through hell and it's a mess.
And I love how heartbroken Hammond is. Yeah, he's looking out into the park, and then Grant helps him into the helicopter. The dinosaur sounds.
Well, it's like you said earlier in the movie. It was like him coming home, and now it's like he has to leave his home, and it's done. He's not coming back.
Yeah, he can't come back.
He can't come back, and like that's his life's work. Essentially, everything that he was building his whole career to, everything was for this, and it fell apart in one weekend.
Yeah. I love how Ellie's helping the kids in, and so is Grant, and he's standing there, and then when he goes up and grabs him, he kind of jumps, and then it's like he's somewhere else, his mind's somewhere else. And I love the John Williams score and everything. I love everything about this.
Oh yeah, this is a beautiful way to wrap up the movie and send us home.
And then we cut to the final scene, John, in the helicopter, on their way home. It's just silence. There's not a word spoken.
No reason.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say no reason to speak, but then you have the kids' heads lying on Alan, and I love that.
Yeah. See, this is what Spielberg does great. And I always remember, I can't remember if Spielberg said it or seen it somewhere, that cinema is telling a story with pictures. You shouldn't need words. And Spielberg does that so well in a lot of his movies. And this scene here, he does it so well. There's not another word spoken in this movie. You see Hammond looking at the mosquito in his amber cane. His dreams are shattered. can tell the pain in his face. Malcolm is resting because he needs rest because he broke his leg. And you have Ali smiling, staring at Grant, who's dozing with the two children. And when he opens his eyes, when he wakes for a moment, opens his eyes, he smiles at her. And then they look out the window and see the birds flying along, the modern day dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful way to end the film. Absolutely beautiful.
And they have the helicopter flies across the ocean. The sun's shining off the water, and then it comes up, directed by Steven Spielberg. John Williams scores playing, and it fades to black. What a film.
What a film. A perfect film in a lot of ways. Some flaws in there, but still a great, great, great Steven Spielberg film.
A perfect thing.
It's divine.
It's up there with Misery's Child. Yes, John, so there you go. That's Jurassic Park. Absolutely amazing. And great movie. So rewatchable. One of my favorites. Has been since I first seen it in 1993. And it took its original run, it took $914 million at the box office. And Jurassic Park became the highest grossing movie of all time, breaking the previous record held by Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Beat your own record.
Beat his own record. So my final thoughts basically on Jurassic Park are Steven Spielberg proved once again he was the box office king with his 1993 record-breaking hit Jurassic Park. Its blend of animatronics, puppets, and computer graphics, solid, believable performances, and great set design, accompanied by John Williams' magical score, captured the imagination of the world. A roller coaster ride which revolutionized special effects with CGI, changing the landscape of cinema forever. It still remains one of the greatest blockbusters of all time and created a franchise which remains to this day. However, nothing compares to the original.
No, nothing ever will compare to the original Jurassic Park. They can keep trying, and they always will keep trying. But, this is a masterpiece in a lot of ways for Steven Spielberg. It's in the upper echelon of Steven Spielberg films. Came out the very same year as Schindler's List, and I don't think any director has ever had a year like 1993 that Steven Spielberg had.
No, tremendous. Absolutely tremendous.
Like I talk about Jim Carrey the next year in 1994 as an actor having 3 hit films, but to have a director have, he tried again in 1997 with Amistad and The Lost World, but he had, which having the prestige picture and the blockbuster, but in 1993 he perfected that with Schindler's List and Jurassic Park, which Jurassic Park is a movie, as you can tell, means a lot to me, has meant a lot to me my entire life. I wouldn't probably be a Spielberg fan if it wasn't for this and E.T., so it's pretty ironic that he beat E.T. with this movie. But I love both of them have great conclusions to their films. But it's just such a special movie that, I would have been fine if they never made another sequel to this. But of course, when you were the highest grossing film of all time, then again, E.T. never got a sequel, so who knows?
Yeah, well, I think, he always swore he'd never make a sequel to E.T. And, I remember when The Lost World was coming out, I was very excited for that one. And I remember the news reports saying it was going to be the first $1 billion movie. And unfortunately, it wasn't. But later that year, Titanic was. And then Titanic swept the award season and won everything. It became the highest grossing movie of all time, beating Jurassic Park. But I agree that Cameron done that with one film. And I think it holds the joint record for most Oscars as well. But like for Spielberg to do it with 2 different movies, 2 different types of movies, just break all those kind of records in one year is phenomenal. And I, for one, was excited for the sequel. I seen it in the cinema. I enjoyed it. I just didn't think it was nowhere near as good as the original. That's where it ends for me. Anything after that, I'm not too fussed on. But it is funny that he's been very reluctant to go back and make a sequel to E.T. and kind of ruin kind of the legacy of that movie. But he's quite happy to continue Jurassic Park movies. Maybe it's because E.T. he always said was his, before The Fabelmans, E.T. was his most personal movie. I think maybe that's what it was. He also there was a plan for a sequel to E.T., but they cancelled it. And then he said they would never make a sequel to it. So, but he was able to go on and do other things like War of the Worlds, and of course he's got Close Encounters. But you're right. If this never had a sequel, I think everything would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I get that money talks. I mean, he only directed The Lost World, and then I guess he's always kind of a producer technically on all the other sequels that they keep coming out with, but they're never his movies. It's like James Cameron, like, he did one and Terminator 1 and 2, and then he would still come out every fucking time another Terminator sequel would come out and be like, "Yeah, no, this is a really good one." And then I'd drag my ass to the theater like I do with every Jurassic Park film and go, "That's a shitty movie."
Yeah, I know, and it makes me wonder. Like, I've never looked into it, who owns the rights, because obviously Amblin Spielberg must own the rights to Jurassic Park. So
But Universal's the one who keeps putting out these movies.
yeah, that's true. That's true as well. Well, they're
Terminator is weird where it's like every Terminator film's like put out by a different fucking studio. I never
Yeah.
understood that actually.
well, that's whoever's buying up the rights.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
like-
mean? Whereas I think like Universal are probably the distributors. Maybe they own a percentage of it, but like.
Let me see.
Because if I remember correctly, the problem with Terminator was that the reason that Iran done the original and then Coralico done the sequel was because Iran went bust.
Yeah, that went out of business not too long
Didn't
after.
it?
Like it was around in the early 90s and then they were gone. So it says the Jurassic Park or the Jurassic World Fair is primarily owned and produced by Universal Pictures, a subsidiary of NBC, Universal Amblin Entertainment, Steven Spielberg's production company. So they acquired the rights in 1990. So technically it's owned by Universal and Amblin, but Universal owns the majority. So that's why
The majority of them.
so they can keep producing them.
And then I don't know what those contracts are like at the end of the day, because Creighton kind of he created it. So I do know that like through Jaws was the kind of different times when Banksy sold the rights to Jaws. Every time they made a sequel, he would get a certain amount of money. So
Well, it's like Rocky. Stallone's been upset that he doesn't own the rights to his own franchise forever, and they're never going to give it back. It's a license to print money.
Yeah, and then when you look at like as you said about Terminator, the whole thing with the Terminator, the reason there wasn't a sequel for so many years was because there was a dispute with the rights between Gale Anne Hurd and Cameron.
Yeah, it's
There
always
was a
something.
dispute. Yeah, and that's why Iran never made a sequel. And then by that stage, Coralico bought the rights from Iran. So they did settled the dispute between Cameron and Hurd and were able to make a sequel. So it can get very kind of
Messy.
messy, whereas like I think whatever deal Spielberg had with, I mean, he's the author of E.T. He created it, even though Melissa Matheson wrote the screenplay, he hired her to write the screenplay, so whatever deal he done with E.T. and the power he had in the 80s, as I said, there was a plan to make a sequel. The sequel was going to take place on E.T.'s planet. And then that became the Raid at Universal Studios. That was the Raid. You went to E.T.'s planet, but that was I think there was a script out there.
Well, the Jurassic Park ride is Spielberg was the one who designed that ride.
Spielberg was.
Yeah, he was the one who actually made the ride, so he's got his hands in it. Sometimes that happens that way. It's weird. It's like how we talked about on Access with Friday the 13th. It's like they can't agree on anyone to take the rights to that movie because everyone just wants money. So it's like, and because of that, they just do nothing. Like we haven't had a Friday the 13th film since 2009, but yet they keep pumping out Jurassic Parks.
Yeah. Well, Spielberg had a lot to do with the Universal Studios in Florida. He had a lot to do with it. If you look at the original park, not the one that's there now, the original park had Jaws, E.T., Back to the Future. They were all the original raids before Jurassic
E.T.
Park
was a ride there too, wasn't it?
E.T. As I said, Jaws, E.T., Back to the Future. They were some of the original raids. King Kong. He said, you know what I mean? Part of his inspiration for making the dinosaurs full size in Jurassic Park was the King Kong raid in Universal Studios Hollywood. The mechanics of it, how it actually worked. But then there was a King Kong that they created as well then for the Florida one. And when that opened in 1990 or 91, he had a lot to do with it. So he did. He had a lot to do with designing the park and everything. And as I've just mentioned, there was two of his movies were prominent, and then another one which he produced as well.
Yeah.
Then obviously, as you say, then they done T2 3D, and which is nothing to do with Universal, but they done T2 3D, and then they done Jurassic Park raid, which the Jurassic Park stuff's still there to this day, whereas Jaws is gone. I think ET's still there.
Yeah, they rotate these rides out, it's which makes sense as they age. And the franchise become a little less prominent. Like, let's get some new stuff in there.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. They built a whole fucking part of the park is dedicated to Harry Potter, and then I think there's Super Mario World there now too, which is insane.
They've done like Spider-Man and Simpsons Raid, and it's just like it's not to do Universal anymore. So
And they're all like VR rides now too. It's not the same.
yeah, no, it's not the same yet. See, for years I always wanted to go back. See, no, I wouldn't go back.
I have no patience for lines, man.
None of that stuff would interest me. What was great about back then was see the lanes. You queued up, and you could be queuing up for hours, but they made the queuing up part of the raid. So, for example, the King Kong attraction, when you were lining up for it, you were in the New York subway, and
See,
they had
that's
television sets up, and it was telling you that there's been disruptions on the trams and stuff like this. There was like news reporters telling you what was happening as you were moving along the lane. So they made the whole kind of experience. So it wasn't just like you were just standing in a queue, like you were queuing up to get into like, Black Friday or something, or into the cinema. So they made all that part of the attraction. But yeah, you could be waiting like for a few hours.
I've lost my patience.
Yeah, but it's not what it was. All that stuff that's in there now, that wouldn't interest me.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, it wouldn't interest me anymore either. But I think we've covered everything here for Jurassic Park. What do you say, sir?
Yeah, I hope so. I enjoyed that one today, John. What about you?
I had a blast. I was looking forward to this, and you did not disappoint. So this was great. Do you want to tell the fine folks what we'll be doing next on the Let's Talk Movies podcast?
Yes, the Let's Talk Movie podcast. We will return with James Bond 007 in For Your Eyes Only.
Ooh, our yearly James Bond film where you get to see the origins of where this all began, where our friendship began, and where this podcast began.
Back to our roots, John, as you say.
Yeah, back to old Bond, back to diving into Roger Moore.
And who would have thought John would be doing like For Your Eyes Only? That seemed like so far off.
I know. We've made it pretty damn far. I mean, by the time we finish up and get to No Time to Die, there'll probably be 2 more movies. So we'll probably wrap up the James Bond series sometime in the summer of 2042.
Yeah. But next year we might have 2 to do. So we'll see.
We'll catch up. We'll eventually catch up. But we hope you guys enjoyed the show. And if you did, of course, don't forget to like this video, subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Share the video. Also, we have a Facebook page. You can look for that in the description below. That way, we can keep up on everything we're doing here on the channel. And, just tell your friends about us. And, of course, if ever Jurassic Park ever opens, watch this video to find out about all the warnings.
And hold on to your butts.